You know, I've been looking for my dad joke in my dad joke thread. The problem is, oh, here they are. I found him. Okay, let's see. The best dad joke I have. I got nothing. This is bad. This is bad.
Just like the most unprepared host on the internet, ladies and gentlemen.
I have a joke from an 8th grader if you want.
Yes, I want that one.
Yeah, that's generally a dad joke.
All right. So I was trying to teach her like the coordinates on a grid, right? So it's always X and Y. When she was just struggling to remember X and Y. So she told me, oh, well, Elon Musk bought Twitter and he renamed it X. So if he buys TikTok, he'll rename it Y. And that's how she now remembers X and Y coordinates.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Interesting way of going about it.
Yeah, it's her brain she's got some learning disabilities and whatnot. But like I was just like, if that helps you remember, like I'll take it.
What is that called? A mnemonic device? Is that what that's called?
I have no idea.
I believe so.
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. Episode 120. Vex, as far as episodes go, it's been only 5 episodes since the last time you were here, but it's been several months since we stopped. So welcome back. It's great to have you. How have you been?
Thank you for having me. I've been okay. I'm dying under the communist regime of Canada still. But you know, we're making headway. Hashtag free Vex, hashtag bring Vex to America, still running. How are you guys?
Doing really good. It's good to be back in the saddle on Wednesday nights with these fine gentlemen. Our female representation is gone and our Black representation is gone, but we're hoping to recover some of that in the coming weeks. So you are representation tonight. So we're scoring points.
I can be gay too, man, if you want that representation. Like...
Hey, if it's all right with you.
All right.
Whatever tickles your pickle.
But yeah, I don't want to speak for these other guys. I'm doing well. Jesse, how are you doing? It's been a good week.
I'm doing good. I'm doing fabulous. Lord blessed me with another bouncing baby daughter last week. Like literally about an hour and a half. Thank you. About an hour and a half after I left this show, my child came into the world at 11:44 p.m. Central Standard Time. You guys were still streaming. Yeah. So it's been a lot of kind of half sleeping nights because we have 2 of them in diapers right now. So yay. But yeah, that's how it works when they're literally a year apart. But other than that, things have been good. Finally got everything, got the schedule all straightened out now with Mama being home and everything else. So we were back at it this morning, cranking out videos and doing the morning show, and got a whole bunch of content made and put up and stuff like that. So I'm just happy to be back in the swing of things, and always good to hang out with Vex. She's okay. I mean, I'm craving Arby's tonight for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's always good to see Vex whenever she can make it. So, but yeah, other than that, I'm good.
Thanks, man.
Good. No problem.
And Brahma Bull, how have you been over the past week?
Oh, I'm doing great. I mean, unlike Vex, I'm in America where we got Trump and we're just winning and winning and winning. So what's there to complain about?
So much winning.
If you were on my stream last night with the TikTok leftist,
I was.
Oh, that's right.
I was chatting you the whole time until I finally just said, I can't take it. I'm gone. Bye.
Yep. I do remember that.
Those people are morons.
Yeah.
It's always funny that was one of your better discussions on TikTok.
I loved it. I loved it because they were so triggered by everything. And I felt bad. I was a little mean a couple of times, but like this person, if you haven't watched it, chat or Vex, take some time maybe tomorrow and like just skim through some of the parts like later in the show, because this person like everything was wrong with this person, right? They were,
Jeez.
yeah, everything
Okay.
was wrong. They were disabled, non-binary, intersex, level 1 autistic. I didn't know there was 6 levels of autism. That's new to me.
There's levels of autism.
I guess so.
What?
Yeah.
So is
Oh, and
level 1 the highest, or is that the
Oh,
touch
yeah,
of?
level 6.
Right.
Like
Touch
yeah,
of. Number
The
1
touch
is
of
the
the
touch
tism?
of. Yeah. Like she
Holy
just got
crap.
grazed by the autism bullet. But she kept saying like some of the most insane shit. She's like, my friend went to Burning Man and so did Elon because he goes every year, and she talked to him and he was just a downer about the end of the world, and she knows what it's like when people are on the white powder, and he was, and I'm like, wow, I'm listening to a secondhand story of a guy who admits that he uses what is it, ketamine? Is that what he uses, or he uses whatever
Cocaine
to
or something. Yeah.
to treat his depression. So he's admitted that publicly, and it was such a wild experience, but it was fun. And she's talking about how poor she is, but she lives in a $1,200 a month apartment, and doesn't have any money for groceries.
Here's how bad it was. I had 2 drinks during my stream.
Mhm.
My stream ended at like 10:15. I go over into Shag's stream in the chat, and somehow I was drunk by 11:30. It was like, I don't go to bed before 2:00. But they drove me so crazy that I just kept pouring drinks and just drinking while typing to Shags, and ended up in bed at like 11:45 for the first time in like 7 months.
What?
I was so pissed off.
Oh my God, Grant, what did you do to your Twitter account?
And Shags froze, as usual.
Oh, that's fucking great. I love it when Shags freezes. That's perfect timing.
My net is already starting. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh my God, it's retarded. It's retarded.
Thought we talked about this. You need to wire up the house. You've had a week.
Yeah. Dude, you seriously don't have like an Ethernet cable running into the back of your PC? Are you really running off of Wi-Fi?
I don't
Yeah,
have a
and he's
200
got to
foot
run
Ethernet.
it about 200 feet.
Yeah, that's the big problem.
That's kind of what I had to do.
Sorry.
I mean, just all you gotta do is drill a hole through the floor and just you'll be or up or down or whichever way.
Oh, we've already been through all the logistics of it.
It's
He's
a
just
few
being lazy.
holes.
He's had a week.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. That is pretty bad. That is pretty bad. Holy cow. And now we've got to go completely and totally off topic because I think 2 of us are trying to do something at the exact same time. But yeah, Brahma Bull, what did you hear about this crazy this breaking incident with this ag here? I'll pull this up real quick while Shags figures out whatever he's got going on. So this is kind of breaking news, guys. This is kind of scary. This is kind of crazy. This is kind of sad. If you've got an issue with airplane accidents, if you get any like a PTSD or anything like from things like that, fair trigger warning on this one right now, because this is a little crazy here. So I saw this reported earlier today because I was doom scrolling Twitter before we came out here, and then Brahma was kind enough to bring this up before the stream and bring us this link right here. So this is from Mr. Guns and Gear. Footage reportedly, right? Always in quotation marks. Got to take it with a grain of salt until we know for sure. But we did hear there was multiple reports about this from multiple different people out there that I saw on Twitter. Reportedly showing. Go ahead.
Oh, so the FAA has released a statement about 40 minutes ago. Basically, PSA Airlines Bombardier CRJ-700 regional jet collided in midair with a H-60 helicopter while on approach to the runway at Reagan Washington National Airport around 9 local. So
how does that happen? Out of curiosity.
No idea, but if you watch the video, it looks like the helicopter goes straight into the path of the plane while the plane is coming in for landing.
Yeah, it's true, Quarter Black. It's true, Garrett. It's true, brother.
Don't judge me.
Level 6 autism.
Don't judge me. Apparently, I'd be shitting my pants if that were the case. But.
Okay,
more than usual. Continue.
So showing a plane colliding with a helicopter whilst landing at Ronald Reagan National Airport. So obviously we've had this confirmed now. A search for survivors in the Potomac River is ongoing. Potomac River. So obviously this still is Potomac. So this still isn't really super big. But yeah,
from everything I've heard, this plane would be able to seat about 60.
Yeah. I know I saw some reports of 50, but yeah, I know you had a chance to look more into this than I do.
Actually, I saw it literally when I told you guys about it. So.
Oh, wow. Ooh. Okay. Ooh, wow. I think I saw a different video from a different angle because I thought I saw maybe it was just a picture or a screen grab, but I thought you could see the helicopter a lot easier.
That's
The
really
helicopter
low.
comes in from the left. You can see it from the
Yeah.
left. Well, it's really
That's
low because
insane.
the plane was on approach to land.
Yeah, it was literally getting.
Okay.
That is wild. And yeah, that helicopter, you can see the lights from the helicopter coming straight at this camera. And then that's right after then you see the light on the helicopter go out, and that's when everything explodes.
There must be some malfunction with like radar or something, and like the tower not communicating, because that, I mean, obviously it's nighttime, but that's stuff that's, like it's constantly being communicated. Like,
Right.
Yeah. Anybody that's worked near an airport or worked on an airstrip knows that stuff like this, especially in a busy place like DC, is routine. There should be no reason stuff like this happens. Planes come in like this, helicopters are flying. Everybody's got radar. Everybody's got constant contact with the local tower. They're all listening to what the tower's putting out about everybody else's stuff. Like that stuff is going on constantly, especially when you're flying at these altitudes, especially when you're flying this close to the city. You are in constant contact with that radio and everything else. There is no reason, unless, like Shag said, there was a malfunction and somebody's crap wasn't working, or like Brahma and I like to theorize and put our tinfoil hats on and go, who was on the aircraft? But of course, that's jumping to a lot of conclusions. That's going down a deep rabbit hole. But like that, like as I was an aircraft mechanic for 10 years. Okay. Like I know about the systems of these aircraft. I've been on flight. I worked flight lines for most of my career in the Air Force. It's like, and you're on the radio, you're listening to these people. If you cross certain lines, if you're getting to certain areas, you have to constantly in radio contact, especially anywhere. And in DC is nothing but essentially military installation. So this is all controlled airspace. This is all stuff that has to be highly monitored at all times, man. Like something like this should not have happened.
Have you just a quick tangent? There's a great account. I don't know if he's on YouTube too, but he's on TikTok. I see him all the time. He is an aircraft mechanic, and he talks about, he'll be like, "Oh, I don't know about all that, but this here is a whatever, airline thing." He's like, it's kind of, and he somehow relates the airline or the engine or some part of the plane to Lord of the Rings, and then he goes on a long like Lord of the Rings lore dump. It is the coolest thing ever. I don't know if you guys know that account or have ever seen it, but it's really
No.
It's awesome. I don't even know how it got on my radar.
Well, since we brought up the conspiracy theory on our side, Libs of Blue Sky has already got somebody out there saying, from Blue Sky saying, is it possible that Trump ordered this to happen? Maybe somebody important was on that plane. Everybody goes to the same place. Who is on the plane? They just go to, well, Trump made this happen.
Yep. Well, I mean, think about it at this point. Why wouldn't we just jump to that? Epstein, his secretary, Vegas, both times now, New Orleans, right? We don't get answers to any of these questions. Nothing's ever completely filled out. All these other mass incidents out there where like paperwork and documentation is all hidden, and people's, manifestos are all hidden and never released to the public, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, well, you've kind of trained the culture to automatically assume everything the government and everything the media is telling to us is lies, and we should just automatically assume the worst at this point.
Is there any on the ground footage that anyone's seen yet?
It's already destroyed.
The same video over and over.
That's what I'm curious about, because they could easily just edit one of these and put it out, right? But if there's on the ground footage, I'd be interested to see that. That's all.
Yeah. Well, maybe do the time of day too. I mean, it's so what that was. You said 9 o'clock local time, so that's like
so it's.
No,
but it would have just it would have gone down over like the debris and everything would have gone down on some warehouses and stuff like that. So
there's probably like security footage, security cam.
Exactly.
Footage.
Yeah. So I'm just curious if
this one looks like a street cam from like Washington D.C. or something. Just one of the ones that looks over the highways.
Yeah, exactly.
Just how grainy it is.
Yeah, and they're gonna have cameras.
It looked like a news report from like the 80s because of the camera that's being used. It's like,
well, one of the first things I was going to talk about, it kind of piggybacks off of something I was we're talking about last week of game journalists essentially. or I don't. Oh shit! I just closed the window.
Boomer.
I'm really over people like sort of stepping out of their bounds and also just not even making sense. Let me pull this up. Present.
I feel attacked for some reason.
If he doesn't attack you, I'm probably gonna attack you.
Woohoo! Now it's a party.
Khalif Positivity Peddler Adams, he seems to be in my algorithm quite a bit recently, but his quote tweet of this interview is, I hope all minorities leave, let others fight upcoming wars. Again, this is nonsensical because we'll listen to what Hegseth has to say here. There's honestly, it's a net positive all the way around. There's nothing wrong with what he says, but people who look at everything through the lens of race will obviously take offense to this. So we'll listen to it real quick. I know what you guys are going to say, but figured I'd bring this just to light and just to, again, understand that if you're a game journalist, you're talking about that stuff, like that's your job. Let's stick to that. Stay out of politics because you don't know what you're talking about.
What's happening with DEI? How's that going at the Defense Department?
Let me give this some volume. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, crank it up. Come on, Shags.
Well, DEI is not going well at the Defense Department because it's dead. We will, as the president said in his inaugural, we will be merit-based and colorblind, and that is the case at the Defense Department. DEI is going to be ripped out root and branch because we want everyone treated equally with high standards and held accountable with warfighting, lethality, and readiness front and center. We don't have time for emphasizing differences. Jesse, one of the dumbest phrases in military history is our diversity is our strength. Our diversity is not our strength. Our unity and our shared purpose is our strength. And the Pentagon is excited to get back to that core mission. It's happening rapidly. The services are responding, and those that don't want to respond can work somewhere else. So diversity.
Right. I mean, I don't think anyone here has do you guys agree with what he's saying there? Like Vex, what do you think of that?
I got no issues with what he's saying whatsoever. So hold on. Khalif or whatever his name is saying that, what did he say in his tweet again?
So his tweet was, I hope all minorities leave, let others fight upcoming wars.
It's just, like, okay.
That doesn't even make sense.
No, I'm trying to parse that one.
As a guy that was active duty for 4 years, okay, and I met a lot of guys working in aircraft maintenance. If you hadn't figured it out, in the Air Force, aircraft maintenance is probably like the biggest portion of the aircraft of the Air Force, right? Yeah. I literally had, from my time in basic, my time in tech school, and my time at like my first term airman center when I was mixed with a bunch of other guys that weren't necessarily from my area. I can literally count. I had three people that weren't natural born citizens, and that's out of the hundreds that I met while I was in the service. Like, and I know some branches it's a little bit different because of the way the Navy works with like the Philippines and stuff like that. But like 3 out of the hundreds of people I met, 2 of them were Russians. And the other one, I don't even know. She must have been like hot off the boat from China because she couldn't even speak English in basic training. So talking about a recruiter really screwing things up. But that was literally it my entire time in. So that whole statement is the most ignorant, dumb shit I've ever heard in my life because that's never been the case. You want to know where the majority of the military comes from? The fucking South. A bunch of redneck country boys that have been playing with guns and shooting shit their entire life. Because I tell you right now, there was a whole hell of a lot more Southern accents than there was anything else in the military. We literally had a guy that sounded just like Boomhauer. It took us 6 months to wear his accent off enough to where we could finally understand his ass.
This whole idea that diversity is strength is just retarded. I mean, nothing about diversity in and of itself adds anything. Meritocracy is all that matters, like he was saying, like Trump has been saying. The only thing that matters is if you can do the job. The job of the military is to be the most lethal force on the planet. It's not to be touchy-feely and make everybody feel good. It's to kill exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Sorry, Vex.
sorry, no, the diversity in the military thing just never made sense to me because you ideally want people that all think with the same mindset because they are working as a team, and you also want basically ruthless blood like killers as well in there. So the diversity military thing never made sense, but I wish more people would just look at the state of Canada when they spout this fucking retarded bullshit like diversity is our strength. Please take a look at what diversity has done to Canada. There is no unified identity. There are race wars on local levels in some of the big metropolitan areas. On top of that, we pay the living expenses for literal terrorists and rapists and drug smugglers to come in here and set up camp. All under the guise of diversity being our strength.
You sound really nice. Like it's such a nice thing for you to think of those people as humans.
I know, man. I love struggling to find a job in the country that I was born in, and I check so many fucking boxes. But because I don't sound like this, I can't get a fucking job anywhere here.
I was going to say, aren't you Indian?
I am Sri Lankan, technically.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we don't blink it.
Right. No one started a war over the difference between those two. So,
right, but it's a load of horseshit. Like anyone with two eyes will see and tell you it is a load of horseshit.
Mm-hmm. Right, and like diversity of thought can be useful in just about any situation, but that's diversity of thought. That's not diversity of immutable characteristics that don't fucking matter as to whether or not you can accomplish a damn job.
Yeah. Exactly. People are not talking about diversity of thought. I even brought that up last night, but they don't there's truly no room for that in that cult, or even religion, whatever you want to call it.
That's a cult.
I am a Quaker. I was raised
conscientious
objector, but I have utmost respect for all in the military.
Same here. I mean, I'm hardcore. My brother-in-law is in the Navy, so I got mad respect there. My dad was in the Army growing up as well, so I got respect there.
My son-in-law is in the Army.
Yeah. Army brat. Yeah. So yeah, that's some retarded ass shit. Like that doesn't work. And like Vex was saying, like Vex was saying earlier, when the military, like that's what they do in basic training. The whole point is to destroy your individuality and make you part of a unit that can work together, function, and get a mission done. Whether it's fucking rolling your socks or going out there and freaking doing watch and taking a hill. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. It's supposed to make everybody think the same. Everybody folds their clothes the same. Everybody eats the same. Everybody sleeps the same. Everybody does PT the same. Like that's the whole point, is to break away any individuality you have and make you think as one cohesive unit. So it's like that whole idea of diversity is so fucking dumb when it comes to the military. It just does not work. Mm-hmm. Madhouse Retro is a squid. That's right. He's a squid. He's one of our sailor boys.
Dude, I saw Madhouse. It's so good you're here. I saw someone today that looked just like you dropping their kids off at my school, and I was almost like, no, that's not you. Obviously, you live in a completely different area. It's like, I mean, I've seen him from here up, so I assume that's what he looks like. But yeah, I was like, oh my god, this is like identical to the. Anyways, it wasn't.
And then you check his Twitter, and he's like, I can't believe Shag ignored me today.
Yeah, exactly. Sad.
Oh, that was
so. There's some more breaking news.
I'm
trying to confirm, but it's being reported on multiple Twitter pages. Apparently, the Doomsday plane is now circling the crash area.
The Doomsday plane?
Yeah, the one that stays in the air, and it's basically for nuclear situations involving high-ranking members of the United States government or military.
It's Trump's flying fallout shelter, is what it is. It's Trump's flying fallout.
It's the one that if anything happens, they get him up into that one, and it circles the country while waiting for things to calm down.
That makes sense. It's all in very close proximity in DC, so I can understand that one.
Yeah. It also flies at a higher altitude, so that way no other planes or anything can crash into it. Because it could also be a target if it's sitting there on the runway, and you got planes falling out of the sky.
Yeah, that's a good point too. They could have just put it in the air for that purpose. Yeah, because I watched a little documentary on that thing the other day, because it's got like all kinds of like radiation shielding and like all of that other kind of stuff. Like it can literally survive a nuclear apocalypse as long as it's in the air at the right altitude.
And it now has in it. Yeah. So,
But from where it was, it had to fly multiple hours to get there to start circling the area. So
Interesting.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, so in the event of
They
an
may
actual
be
nuclear
putting
blast,
Washington
Well,
on
no.
high alert.
They should.
Well,
They should have that plane in DC. It shouldn't be anywhere else because the president needs access to that immediately. I don't know why that thing would be stationed anywhere but DC. But I mean, I don't know that exactly, but I just from a logistical standpoint, that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Why you would have that thing stored anywhere else?
I don't
Sorry,
know
Grant.
enough about it.
no, it's all good. I've probably seen the same documentary that you did, but like if in the event of an actual nuclear blast, when it detects a certain level of thing, it literally just turns everything off and goes into glide mode.
Yeah, so none of the electric chips get whacked.
Yeah, it can glide for 10 minutes, and then it's got a secondary set of batteries and motors and everything to fire up in case the first ones get fried.
It's
Holy
self-sufficient. It has
shit.
its own power generator, water,
Yep.
food supplies.
Doesn't have
Operated
TiVo
by
though.
the 595th Command.
Nothing to be afraid of, I guess.
So it's operated out of Nebraska.
Like honestly, it's one of those things in a situation as the way things are right now with the tension as high as they are. There's a very good possibility it could just be, you know what? Better safe than fucking sorry, Mr. President. I don't give a shit. We look at everything that's happened over the last 6 months. We're not taking any precautions. You're getting in this fucking thing and we're getting up in the air. Okay. Like we're just not taking any chances anymore.
That's
The
fair.
world's fucking crazy. The world's fucking crazy. We always knew it was going to get worse before it got better. And we've seen a lot of that over the last 6 months. So, and they are
Just
not gonna
6 months?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about like some of the actual violent. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
fair
you're
enough. But
Canadian. It's progressively gotten worse every single day in the last 9 years. So
yeah, you guys have been like, you guys think about it. You're like ahead of us on the curve, right? You're like what our future would have been if we would have kept going down this path.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't you get arrested for going outside, or you got a massive fine or something?
You
From memory?
you like me personally?
Didn't you get put in a camp?
I got they tried to send me to one of those COVID camps, yes, because I flew into the country I was born in without a clot shot. But yeah, there were people you could call the local police if there were ever like gatherings over a certain number. So there's video footage from I think it was New Year's 2021 of like a house in rural Quebec getting stormed by like 8 cops, and it's 6 people in a house, and they're dragging some of these people out like literally by their neck just because they broke a gathering limitation rule.
Well, technically, adding 8 more people to it made it even a worse of a gathering. So they should have also been arrested.
I know. Yeah, it's a fucking disaster zone up here, and I still am facing a court date for not taking the clot shot and traveling into Canada.
Wow.
So that's still hanging over me.
It's only possible 15 years. She'll be right. She can probably do it in 7.
Look, dude, fuck this. Invade Canada. If Trudeau isn't willing to sell it to us, we're just invading Canada and turning it into like 6 more states. Like we're just done with this shit.
I've been saying this for like
Just
a
wait until Pierre
decade at
takes
this
over.
point. No, don't even wait till that. Okay, listen. So you guys have the largest and strongest military in the world, okay? Our military has been steadily broken down by letting a bunch of disgusting foreigners in and then letting all these trans and gay people in, and they're taking hormones and shit, right? So there's no unified identity or front in the Canadian military. So you have no defenses, okay? Second largest. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if there's any memers out there, can we get Clayton Bigsby with Vex's face on it, please? Arabs, Jews, they all stink, and I hate them.
And then maybe it's just 2 guys from Newfoundland in the boat going, "Go on, fuck off, eh?"
Right. There's thousands of untapped mines up in the north due to all the environmental regulations. You have insane oil stores, second largest holder of fresh water in the world, endless lumber. Just invade us, okay? Now there's like 45 million of us, give or take, right? Take 90% of that population. I know, like, keep 10% just for, some genetic diversity and all of that stuff when you unify. But take the other 90% and use them for genetic testing or human trials.
Oh, like
This
people
is
from
a
Quebec.
win-win situation for everyone.
My
okay?
channel has never been in more trouble than it has right now, the past 45 seconds.
Listen, just invade us. Seriously, you guys will be happy. And then listen, the Chinese can't get to you anymore. The CCP bought us all out. They can't get you if you take over.
That's true. Dude.
My
Honestly,
channel is under attack from within.
yeah. Honestly, I've
From
said
known white supremacist Vex.
Disavow! Disavow!
well, I've always hinted at the fact that the United States especially, but even Canada, like, should probably be operating in independent like countries, you know, like Canada's huge. And like especially the difference between East and West is astounding.
Yes.
Like it, and same thing with the United States. The United States should probably be broken up into 4 or 5 different countries,
Or maybe 50 independent states. That could be an idea.
Yeah,
exactly.
Each government
Well, no, I mean, like, honestly, I think one of the reasons, I don't know. Hey, hold on 1 second. The Madhouse gifted some memberships.
Drop the link over there for everybody to jump over.
5 gifted memberships over on Rumble dropped by Madhouse. Thank you so much, dude. Really appreciate you, man. That's awesome.
And everybody, I'm dropping the Rumble link in the chat right now. If you guys jump into the Rumble chat right now, you will automatically get gifted a subscription. You will automatically get a free gifted subscription to Shagsworth because of that. So I got one of them. There are 4 more left in there. So get over to the chat and say hi.
Yeah, it's such a
that's
weird.
the
I
whole
don't even know
problem
what the
with our
solution.
federal government. They're doing far more than they were ever supposed to do. The states were supposed to operate as individual governments with a federal government overseeing them, the border, and just a few key things: immigration,
defense,
border
currency.
control, defense.
Yeah, like that's
Now he's misgendering. That's fucked up.
The greatest compliment you could ever pay me is that you're a man. So thank you. I really genuinely thank you.
But if we were to bring in Greenland or Canada, no, they don't get statehood. They get territory status because we're not giving them senators or congressmen.
What, Greenland?
You bring in Canada, the Dems win every election.
Oh, I don't know about
that's
that.
why. Well, no, that's why you got to get rid of 90% of the population because an overwhelming amount of this country will vote Democrat. Like I guarantee you, they will vote Democrat.
Well, you guys would be into the electoral college, though, too. So it's one of those situations where you'd have to see how that would balance out. It also depends on how, if we decided to further divide your territories. I mean, there's a lot of speculation. This is all just fun spitballing, but like
it would balance out as bad as it does right now because they've got a few major cities that do all of the voting that screws up that whole country.
Yeah, because
it's
the
just
central,
like the East Coast and West Coast down here.
Yeah, Central and Western Canada are all conservative, but there's 25 people total. You know, like in those cities, which
That's
they're good
why
the rest of it's wilderness.
Yeah,
90%, man. I'm telling you, the 10% are just the sane ones.
One of the things we've been kicking around in Texas is doing an electoral college for the state. By county. So like every county is treated just like an electoral college state in the same system because that would take away all of the power from the major cities.
It's just like Texas, just like, okay, how can we screw over Austin? I've got an idea.
That's pretty much what we're going for. Austin, Houston, sometimes DFW, good portions of San Antonio.
I think every state should be on the state electoral college. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's that, and that would be one of those things too. Like Shagsworth, you're talking about wanting to divide up power a little bit. Well, we don't have to divide it up by country if we just limit the power that the big sections have and empower the local municipalities and the local areas again. Yeah, let them have more control and make the big government smaller, and then you get exactly what you want without us giving up our territory and having invasions from all different countries and not turning us into Europe. Right, where people are constantly pissed off and invading each other.
Because if you made us into 5 individual countries, or say 4, use the time zones almost to denote it, then how long before the East and the West Coast are just like, yeah, we don't really like those guys, and since we're a different country, we're not the United States, we're just going to go ahead and fight them. You're far
Oh,
more likely to have a civil war that way.
Yeah, maybe. And like again, maybe you would need to have much smaller countries. Again, like you do have like I think because
But
there's
that
nothing
didn't
wrong
work
with homogenous areas. Like they're not necessarily bad. Like you can have some really good outcomes in those areas, and maybe that would help homogenize these different areas of the of what's now the United States. You know, I don't know. I'm just thinking as I go here because what we have right now is not working. Now it would be a total logistical nightmare to do such a thing, you know, to break up, you know, the federal government and then disperse it into these smaller areas.
Well, if they did it via time zone, it would actually be pretty good for like Texas because they'd finally have a chance of winning a national league in football for once.
Dude, we dominate the entire time zone. That would suck for everybody else.
Yeah.
Part of the U.S.'s strength is just how big we are, how much resources we have within one country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything that we've got. I mean, if you start breaking that up, then you unbalance a large portion of the world along with the U.S.
Yep. No, I agree.
You point to anywhere in your country on a map, and there's bound to be hundreds of people living there. Like, he's a very spread out for a population that's as dense as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Canada's the complete opposite. Australia's the complete opposite. We got, 95% of our people live in 5% of the area.
I think Utah and Wyoming are very similar to that. Wyoming is like their population centers are very like specific, and Utah as well. Like the Wasatch Front where I live is like most of the population and then scattered about. It's really weird, but everywhere else.
It's also one of those things you've got a lot of desert areas, like places that are like, unless you like import everything, or he froze again. Oh, that's a great picture with his teeth hanging out too. Or like imported, because like I've heard of that about like my Wyoming and Montana too. A lot of those areas you wouldn't think of them as like deserts, but they are. A lot of those areas, because of the wind constantly blowing over them, they're just like frozen tundras practically like all the time. And like that's one of the big problems with like that's why a lot of people don't live there. That's why there's not a lot of well-established towns, because it's just a rough fucking place to live. And anywhere that's going to be a rough place to live, it's going to be this. It's the same way in New Mexico and big ports of Arizona and stuff like that, because there's hundreds of miles that, we have the technology to make it habitable, but you don't want to. It's too much work. It's too much effort. There's no reason to build the town out there. That's why people live around natural resources, rivers, lakes, all that kind of stuff.
Most of South California and, Nevada. I mean, the only reason those places exist is because they take water from other states.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, California gets so much of Colorado's runoff every single year.
Yeah, most like go to the ocean.
Pump it right into the ocean.
Yeah, exactly. And they waste it, just let it run off to the fucking ocean. So yeah.
Name one scenario where they need that much water.
I didn't hear what he said. I missed it.
Name a scenario where Las Vegas itself would not exist. It's in the middle of the desert.
No,
most of Arizona would not be able to thrive if you didn't have all the states working together in some way. Because if we were independent countries, or even just smaller countries, how are you going to get Colorado to give up its water to California at that point?
Yeah, you're going to constantly have negotiations that just turn into nothing more than. Look how our Congress is now trying to get them to agree anything. Imagine those same psychopaths everywhere out there in charge of all the resources that make our entire country work. Yeah, that's a disaster waiting to happen.
But I definitely wouldn't give Canada or Greenland statehood. I would keep them like Puerto Rico and be territories of the U.S.
Territories. There you go.
They get some say, but they don't get to vote in our elections and stuff. So
yeah. I don't know. I think we'd be okay with Canada. There's a few things we just have to divide up. There's a few more things.
I've watched Canada for the last 8 years. I don't think we'd be okay with Canada.
Oh, that's right. You're a big hockey fan. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and we do have to keep them Canada so that the Canadian teams can continue to not win the Stanley Cup for the next 70 years.
Let me guess, diversity, inclusion, and equity hit the NHL as well.
No, Canadian teams just can't win at their own game.
So, as usual, America took something over from another country, made it better, and got faster and even better at it than everybody else. Sounds about right.
Well,
they just introduced black guys to the ice, and it seemed to make a difference.
And the other thing is, if you're playing in Canada, your contract isn't worth as much as it is in the U.S. because the dollar is worth more.
So we get all the best players by default just because of that. Nice.
Sort of.
Oh.
I mean, there are things that it's kind of like people will make a decision on whether they want to go play professional sports in California or New York compared to another city because of the tax rates.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and that's a huge portion of it too. That's why a lot of people. That's why so many of those companies are moving out. A massive amount of companies have moved out of California just in the last few years because of all that stuff. I mean, that's why like Trump appointed his Hollywood czars, his Hollywood ambassadors, to try to go out there and go, what do you guys need? We need to start making movies in America again. This is bullshit. Everything's going over to England, and I'm like, no, please keep it in English. I get to see all of their tax receipts, please. Like if you want to give them, but that's the one thing I want. We need to get a group of the fellowship to lobby for that, like together. Like if they want to give tax credits and stuff like that to Hollywood, we want their actual receipts, just like England wants to do it. I want to know every penny they spent on these movies, so they can't lie to us and gaslight us anymore. If you're getting tax breaks from me, I want to see your books. I want to see your books. I think that's fair.
Did I just hear a fire alarm beep?
Fire alarm?
Yep.
No, my daughter's playing Never Gonna Give You Up, and she's got it through a little speaker, so it's really distorted. And she's got a
Aw.
microphone and she's singing along to it. So when she gets close to the speaker,
Aw.
it does the it's her favorite
Feedback.
song. So
That
yeah.
is great. That is so great.
Before my previous Wi-Fi flub, I was going to bring this up. It was a good time, but Adam B. Coleman, like I said, has been on a roll recently. Someone I highly respect. I've talked to a few times. Just kind of commenting on all the stuff, regarding the deportation and everything, and how the Democrats have sort of come across.
Oh, I love this. I thought I saw this one.
Americans won't do these jobs. Translations: Americans won't do jobs while being underpaid like the exploited underclass of illegal workers, which I thought was just brilliant. Like it's so true. Like even this was a discussion I had last night on my debate, quote unquote, that like these people don't really care about the deportation. They just want it's a virtue signal. I think we all know that.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Because
Well, it's
they're
the same plantation talk that they did when we were trying to get rid of slavery.
right.
Yep.
But what people don't realize is that we're all flawed in this way. Is that we all have acceptable losses of what we're willing to tolerate in this way. Like no one's fighting for all these people overseas that are rotting in these cobalt mines to put microchips in their cell phones. Right? They're just willfully doing this on their phone. Oh, I can't live any other way. Like no, you're full of shit. If you really believed that you could help someone, you wouldn't be supporting these companies like that. But of course you don't. So you're mad because the orange man is saying this thing. Like that's the only reason you're mad. And someone told you to be mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just so fed up with the hypocrisy. People don't, these people don't really care at all.
True.
Yeah, I can't say it any better. Yeah.
We have so much video of Obama saying that he was going to deport you if you came over illegally.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, that's true.
That
Didn't he have
used to be. Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna ask. Didn't he have like 8 or 12 million deportations under his reign as president? Something like that.
More under Obama than there has been under Trump or Biden.
Yeah, I think Clinton had like 12 million deportations, and then Obama was like 6 or 8 million or something like that.
It was like 8.
Yeah,
but there's also
Obama's the one who built the cages.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Obama built the cages. I mean, there's also an explanation for when Trump was in. They were deporting, just not at the level that we are going to now. But the reason you didn't have to as much is we weren't letting 11 million of them stream in through the closed border under Trump.
Well, yeah, back then it was cool to catch the criminals coming across the border, right? You're coming here illegally, you're breaking the law, we're going to arrest you. And Hillary was her fist is in the air, and Obama and everyone was cool with it. And as soon as Trump started saying it, it was the oh my God, human rights. clutch pearls.
What it came down to is the Democrats used to support union labor, right? And that was one of the things, is that was always the argument, especially because a lot of places, not everywhere is like this, but a lot of states are still unionized when it comes to plumbing, when it comes to carpentry, when it comes to building houses and doing all these other kind of things. And you can't hire somebody to build your house without it being a union job, right? And that was the thing. Democrats used to actually be on the side of unions, used to actually fight for the working man, allegedly. I think it was all a ruse to begin with, but that's a talking point for another day. But that was their talking point, right? That's why it was okay for them to be against illegal immigration, because those immigrants would come in here, and guess what? You see it still down here to this very day. These contractors would hire them all under the table, pay them cash. Hell, we had a contractor down here that would hire them, and on Thursday on Friday when they came for their paychecks, call ICE and have them all deported because he knew he could have another batch on Monday. Okay, so it's one of those things, but that was always their talking point, because these people are coming in and they're taking union jobs. They're taking the average American's job. And so we have to get them out of here, because Bernie Sanders used to be a big proponent for deportation, for border security, for stopping illegal immigration because of that exact reason. But then to a certain degree, part of was it because Trump started saying it, but also because guess what? The Democrats have been giving everybody lip service for years. The union guys saw that Trump was serious about what he was doing, especially between 2016 and 2020. His union percentage of voting range jumped huge in 2020, and I'm sure it was even bigger in 2024. I haven't seen the stats on it yet, because he actually delivered on those union promises that Democrats were harping on for decades and decades and never gave them. And so the Democrats moved on from the unions because the unions moved on from them. So what do? Well, now we get hundreds of millions of illegals in here. Then eventually we'll grant them all amnesty. And just like the civil rights thing and what LBJ said about having black people vote for them for the next century, it'll be the exact same mentality all over again, except now it's just with people that are brown instead of black.
You mean your people?
Well, it depends on which week it is.
Depends on if you ask me about ancestor DNA or not. But no, that's exactly what it is.
You were yelling for so long, I forgot what the original point was. What was the original thing?
I do was like yelling at me for 10 minutes.
Why Democrats used to kick out illegals and why now they don't.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Man, that's just. It's getting tiring following, like Vex, you said it really well. Like politics is like, following it's just chasing your tail at this point. It's really, it's hard, man. And it's depressing to like follow a lot of days.
That's why I can't be bothered to actively keep up with it anymore. Because once you recognize the pattern, it just becomes, for me at least, it became a complete drain on like my mental well-being and my energy. And I was just like, I would rather, obsess over like Nosferatu or something like that, or put my energy into, more productive things like writing my book. But yeah, I can't be bothered. Yeah, it is what it is.
You should just stick with just dropping in on the bullpen every Sunday morning. Just
there you go. Yeah, just give me the cliff notes.
That's all you need. Yeah.
There you go. Unless my visa is coming in the mail, I don't give a fuck about politics. Like that. That's just how it is. I don't give a fuck.
Are you actively actually trying to get out of Canada, or are you just saying that just because you just
No, I'm married to an American citizen. I've been waiting over 3 years for my visa.
Sorry, I did not realize that. I should know this, but I did not know.
You're good. Dang. Yeah, I've been waiting over 3 years to get a visa because I refused to take the clot shot. So a couple days ago, Trump signed an executive order to remove that requirement, but the change hasn't been made on the Department of State website. So the lawyers are just like, until the change goes through there, just assume everything is normal. And I was told that it would take, I wasn't even given a definitive like timeline, because so many people that applied for status in the US didn't want to take that shot. So the system just got overwhelmed. And now I've had a vaccine waiver processing for about 16 months at this point. I've passed everything else with flying colors. I'm just waiting on that.
Damn.
Yeah.
That system's so broke. I had a buddy of mine. I helped him get his wife here from I can't remember. It was one of the South American countries. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, I had to help him.
Don't be too specific. Ice might be listening.
They might be. No, she's here. She's good now. But yeah, I'd help him translate all of these, use Google Translate to translate all these letters and help him go over all this documentation to make sure it was all right. And dude, that shit we spent 3 hours at my dining room table going over all of that shit. That system is so broken and so overburdened. It is not even funny. That is another part of this overhaul that we've got. Seal the border first. And then we seriously do need to overhaul this immigration system. It is fucked up.
Yeah, absolutely. People need to watch more movies. I think people just need to chill and watch a good movie every now and then. Vex, you'd appreciate this. There's plenty of good movies. What are you talking about?
Make more good movies. That's what I said. Listen to my words.
No, I was talking to Brahma. Sorry, not you. I couldn't understand you. I was speaking English.
Well, you guys with your stupid northern accents.
No. I'm sorry you're closer to Antarctica than the equator. Okay, Grant, that's not our fault.
Actually, I'll check that. I don't think I am.
I don't think you actually are either. Yeah. It's just it always looks on the globe because Australia's actually so big and it's just round and it doesn't work on a globe. But yeah, no, I think you guys. Yeah, that's why you guys are fucking desert and hellscape most of the country.
So here's what I think, and Vex, you can correct me if you want, because Vex I know goes nuts on movies. You talk a lot about movies. I know others do here too, but Vex, I love following your takes on stuff. I think there's a lot of good movies coming out now. I think we've had a couple great years in the past that have put out some banger movies, but there's still good movies coming out every year that you can watch now. I mean, I think the problem that we're finding ourselves in is that this group finds itself sort of stuck in a negative feedback loop of everything is horrible and bad. These are all the bad things. But there's a lot of people, I'm going to be talking with Mark the Cyborg this week in Metal Commander, on their show. They cover movies all the time, mostly good stuff, but sometimes we talk about stuff that's not great. Jesse, you talk about Doctor Who. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Starting Cyberpunk Edge Runners tomorrow,
right? And then Matt's been talking about movies as well. He's doing shows on good movies. People need to break out of the mindset there's not good things. It's totally good to go back and watch some of the old stuff. I've been doing that. I've been going back and watching movies I've been missing out on. I have a couple queued up. Villains is one that one's from 2023. And Villains.
That was a fun movie, by the way. I enjoyed that movie.
It looks cool. Villains. I just watched God, I'm losing them now. I watched Seven Samurai again, which
great movie.
Classic. Yeah, just
beautiful
a classic
movie. Yeah.
I'm in the process of watching The Social Network again because Nosferatu is a movie that was made a month ago, or it came out a month ago. Month and a half ago.
I mean, you're talking about Eggers. When does he miss?
He doesn't. But this is what I mean. There's plenty. Get out of here, Madhouse. Thank you for those 5 gifted subs.
The stair scene is perfect, to be fair. It just keeps going on and on and on.
Oh, don't talk to Brahma about the stair scene.
No, I was completely against Canada being overtaken, but after that comment, I'm all for it now.
You're right, Shags. There are because I have this conversation with a lot of people too. It's just if you break out of here's what Disney is putting out and Marvel and DC, if you break out of that and you just look at a complete release calendar, a good 3/4 of the shit coming out is, if not decent, pretty good. I had a great time with the movies last year. There were so many good movies that I had a hard time putting together my top 10 list for 2024. There were so many good movies. 2023, there were also a ton of good movies, but I'm not looking at what is being, thrust upon me on Twitter or on Google or whatever, what's popular. Right. So There's a ton of good, just like there's a lot of good games out there, man.
There was a
There's
lot of
good games out there.
Last year, I
great
think
games.
probably since maybe 2019 was a really good year for indie films. A lot of indie films that were like extremely low budget, that were quality. And I think it's been since 2018 or 19 was the last time where I'm just genuinely happy with the indie scene overall.
And I really just said it the way I did to get Shags riled up. I mean, I've liked a good handful of movies the past few years. I thought The Beekeeper was fantastic. There's been, I mean, a few of them that it was just like, yeah, this is
The
just
Beekeeper,
good fun
like the
popcorn
Jason Statham
flick.
movie.
Yeah, it's John Wick, but with these
Popcorn flick. I mean,
Right.
that's all I want from movies at this point. I don't need it to be.
Are you gonna watch The Cleaner at all, Brahma Bull?
I don't know The Cleaner.
Is that
Okay,
where
The
it's
Cleaner-
I'm going to watch
Cleaner
The
is-
Ballerina.
It's Daisy Ridley in basically a British version of Die Hard.
Yes, it's
Oh,
it comes
man.
out like around Valentine's Day.
Oh,
It's Die Hard with a woman essentially in England,
Oh, that's gonna work out.
And it's
great.
Daisy Ridley.
and it's Daisy Ridley.
She was.
That
might
make it a no-go for me.
Get this, Brahma. She's ex-military, and she was the best operative that they ever had, but she walked away.
Hey,
I've
look,
already
as
seen that.
long
It's
as-
the Lioness.
As long as they've got enough shots of her in skin tight outfits from the back doing like Mission Impossible maneuvers, it might be okay.
She's in pants the whole time. Well, in the trailer, she is anyway.
As long as they're skin tight, we'll be all right. What's the other? There's another Jason Statham movie that's coming out too. What's that one where he's
He's
the
a construction
ex-British-
foreman.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one looks really cool. Like that,
Looks
I've seen that
fun,
trailer several
popcorny
times.
again.
Yeah,
No, I don't think it looks
totally
good. I
good
think it might be enjoyable. There is a difference. I definitely think I'm going to enjoy the
if
film.
we're talking from a critical standpoint, look, I enjoyed Black Adam. Okay, like it was a great popcorn flick. Bad Black Adam movie, great JSA movie. But like no, there's a good. What's that other one? That the new the haunted house one where they flip it and it's everything's from the ghost perspective. I can't remember what it's called, but that one
I
I've seen the
remember when that movie was called The Others.
Presents.
Presence, yeah, that is. I thought you're right. I didn't think about it on the others too. That is, yeah, but the others is like you think they're real the entire time. Black Adam was a solid 6 out of 10. Garrett, fight me. Black Adam was a solid 6 out of 10.
Ooh, Madhouse.
I also thought Boy Kills World was fun as a popcorn flick.
Bad.
I liked.
Agreed.
I thought Venom: The Last Dance was pretty fun.
Yeah, Boy Kills World was a fun popcorn flick for sure. Yeah.
Twisters didn't bother me at all.
Well, like-
Godzilla v Kong X Kong was fine for a Godzilla popcorn flick. It's not the same as the other Godzilla series, but and it depends on.
Godzilla
Which
minus
Godzilla
one
you
was like
like?
a work of art. Like it's
Yeah.
it's really great. And this I
Fall
don't
Guy
like
was
Devastator.
good.
Like I again like I think you've blackpilled yourself too bad. You really don't have to look. Like go look up a list of movies from 2024 and 2023 and
Pick a year. Just pick a year and then literally go onto Reddit and type in most underrated film of that year, and you'll come out with absolute gems.
Or
Or even just
go watch
go ahead.
Film Thread. Chris Gore covers those guys watch like 6 movies a week. Like they're always watching all of these great indies and all of these great things that you didn't know about and all this stuff you can go. Sometimes you can watch it from streaming for free on places like Tubi and stuff. They'll do interviews with these directors. There's a ton of great indie stuff out there that's been
Just
coming
don't
out
trust-
for years.
Just don't trust Shags because Alien Romulus was shit.
No, Chris Gore and
It wasn't
Alan.
that bad.
Hain, just
it was
them.
actually nominated for an Oscar, so y'all can shove it.
Yeah, but it was
Okay,
also
the
nominated for
Oscars
Best
don't
Picture.
matter.
Because that's not.
Yeah,
that doesn't
clearly they
help its
don't because
case.
of what's it that one that I can't even Amelia Perez, is that what it was?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
only reason it's got a trans man in it.
Wow, talk about being
Um,
blackpilled, Shag. You can't handle that it's a woman in charge. Now it's bad.
No, it was garbage. It was so
I can't-
bad.
I can't wait
that's
till
the
a
new
man
Venom.
wins Best Female Actress.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll happen. People are saying someone was
it's
telling
gonna
me,
happen.
oh, it just got all the nominations, but it won't actually get any wins. But
will.
I'd be willing to bet money that they'll give Best Actress to a man.
Men are the best women.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's been obviously true for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what I want to see that I haven't is The Brutalist. That looks so
Ooh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta
Um,
watch that still. That's been on my
that's-
list since it got announced. Basically,
Yeah.
I like
Oh,
Adrian Brody.
Yeah, and Guy Pearce looks like he like that. I haven't seen anything like I haven't seen Guy Pearce in like a really great role in a while. So I want him to be like great in that movie. But Adrian Brody just looks like he's gonna nail it. So
I feel you.
I'm stoked.
Mhm.
What do you I'm I want the Alien franchise to like really come back to its roots. I enjoyed Alien Romulus. I think it's undeservedly hated. You know, I made a video about it, and I don't care what people if people think it's wrong, it's fine. I was excited for Alien Earth until I saw the new trailer for it. I don't know.
I liked Romulus when I saw it out of the theater, and I even made a video review praising Alien Romulus, faults and all. And then I watched it for a third time, and I was like, "This is mid at best. It's mid at best."
Well,
so I retract that entire video. That is a shame on my channel right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
I don't know.
I
I
can't do it.
always default to my boy Diesel on anything Alien because that man knows that stuff like the back of his hand. And he liked it.
Especially if it's to do with alien invasions.
Mhm.
Actually, my kids were just watching the movie If. I actually, on second watch, because I saw it with them in the theaters, watching it again, there's actually a little bit more depth to that movie than I originally gave it credit for. I actually want to do like a more in-depth analysis of it. I don't love Ryan Reynolds like in this particular role, but I like what the movie's trying to do as far as like kids and their childhood and, you know, kind of venturing into adulthood and sort of keeping that spirit. The second half of the movie, as I remember it, wasn't like as cohesive and great as the first half. But John Krasinski is always great. Like he doesn't play a huge role in that, but like there were some pretty heartfelt moments in there. Like I think you appreciate more as a dad or as a parent, but and that might shine through and affect reviews. So I don't know if you've seen that, Vex, but
I have. I thought it was mid. It was just
Yeah.
a bit. I like you said, I appreciated a lot of the themes and how it was just it wasn't trying to sell kids a message to be this or that. It was just kind of like treasure what you have now and kind of be grateful for the things you have, right?
exactly.
So it felt like a callback to what those movies of the 80s and 90s were doing, but it just felt a little hollow and all over the place. So I kind of just rated it. It's not great. It's not terrible. It's middle of the road.
Yeah. And honestly, like, that's why, like, as I was watching, I remember it was like, I was kind of forgetful, but as I was watching it, I watched like the first half hour and I was like, oh man, like I'm actually enjoying this a little bit more than I remember. Like I really want to check this out again and maybe do a more in-depth analysis on it because I don't know. I do think it's easy and it's often lucrative to hate on films and movies.
It
now,
is.
you know?
Yep. Mhm.
So, but it's harder, I think, to really break down something like, you know, Alien Romulus. No one really wants to hear about the good parts. They're just like, oh, I want to hear how awful it is. I'm like, well, you know, I think Alien has definitely been struggling with their lore over the past couple films. I actually follow a couple guys who are huge Alien simps. So it is fun listening to them talk about.
Is one of them Alien Theory?
I don't think so. No.
I've streamed with him a few times. Yeah, he's compulsively obsessed about anything to do with xenomorphs. Like,
Yeah.
like if someone does a fan film about it, he reviews it. He breaks it down. Yeah, he's obsessed. He loves it.
That's cool.
Though he hates every single movie that's not Alien 1 or 2.
Oh,
he's obsessed with it. He's obsessed with the lore and everything, but he'll watch it like.
Oh, so only the first two films. Everything else is he doesn't like.
Yeah, he doesn't like, but he knows them inside and out. He'll still watch it 100 times because he loves the universe.
Okay.
And he wants the universe to survive. It's kind of like me with Terminator. I hate what they've done to Terminator, but if there's another Terminator out tomorrow, I'm going to go see it because I love the Terminator universe and I wanted it to survive. And one day when you know, James Cameron actually says this is a good film, he's eventually going to be right. So
yeah, that's how I feel about Predator. I'll watch Predator films even though there's only one good Predator movie.
Yeah, number 2.
What to you guys is like like when you guys think like sci-fi, what is like the definitive film for you guys when you think of like sci-fi that you like would
Fifth
tell
Element.
I was going to say
the Fifth Element.
Fifth Element jumped straight out of my head, but I also feel that that's not quite pure sci-fi for me. Like, I feel like
Sorry, go
sci-fi
ahead.
is a byproduct of the story. It's more of a religious fantasy sort of thing. It just happens to be set in the future. I think the same story would work if it was in the past as well. Like, I think a good sci-fi thing has to have a sci-fi element or thing at its absolute core. Sort of something like The Matrix, where its whole thing revolves around a sci-fi premise, as weird as it is. I mean, that's just to me, because immediately I went, oh yeah, Fifth Element, because I think it's one of the best ones. But if we want to really give the love to like sci-fi, it's got to be something that involves a sci-fi, not just as a byproduct, but as the main focus of the film.
Interesting.
I mentioned last week it would be Dark City.
Oh,
Dark City is a perfect example like that. I mean, that's Matrix-esque. I mean, it was the film that inspired the Matrix. So
yeah.
Some of the sets were used in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, all the rooftop sets are sets that were built in Dark City and used for the Matrix.
Interesting.
Does a made-for-TV movie count?
sure.
Go for it.
It's basically what streaming is now.
That's true. The Dune Sci-Fi Channel series, the made-for-TV movie adaptation.
David Lynch ones? Is that what?
No, fuck that. No,
the miniseries is what he's talking about. The
miniseries. They were 3 made-for-TV movies that they did over there. I guess it's technically a miniseries, but they were 2.5 hours long and they were contained stories, and honestly, a lot better contained stories than the Denis Villeneuve Dune movies. But yeah, no, I thought they did a really good job.
Movie now, deal with it.
Oh fuck don't get me started again. I have a show in the morning. I don't need to lose my voice tonight. It's like, but no, I think that one's a great example of that. I mean, that whole thing premise is built on the fact that there was a whole, AI big war and all of that kind of stuff. And now we have to figure out a way, still using technology, but just a different version of it, and still trying to essentially conquer the universe and control the universe. And then you add some of the religious aspects in it. And I think that's one of the things that I think, a lot of the highfalutin, I mean, I don't think a lot of them are highfalutin anymore because they've all shown themselves to be asses, but a lot of the guys that used to be like the big, like atheist scientific thinkers, God's not real, religion's stupid, yada, yada, yada. They always thought we'd end up finding a future where there was no such thing as religion anymore. And I think that's going to be completely wrong. I think religion is going to be ingrained to humanity as a whole forever in one version or another. And it doesn't matter how far we stretch out into the universe, doesn't matter how advanced we get technologically, there will always be a place for that. And for whatever you want to say about the movies and what you think the real meaning behind a lot of it is, there's still giant aspects of religion throughout all of it, and even warring religions, which isn't really all that much different than what Earth is now. Some things I don't think are ever going to change about humanity, and that's one of the reasons why I like Dune for that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. So long story short, I think he said Blade Runner. Was it?
Another great one, though.
Which brings us back to Event Horizon.
Dude, okay, Brahma, all right. Is Event Horizon a horror film or a sci-fi film first?
Sci-fi horror.
Wait, who mentioned?
So you think it's sci-fi
Event Horizon?
Horror?
I just said as sci-fi horror.
Brahma just did.
That was going to be. That was like.
Yeah, I can see that a horror film with a sci-fi element to it.
Well, the science fiction is.
Yeah, I know. Basically, I'm almost contradicting what I said before, but I think its horror elements outshine its sci-fi-ness.
Okay, so would you say the same thing about Alien, though? That Alien's horror aspects outshine its sci-fi?
Alien, I would say the same thing about that. Absolutely.
Okay, what about Alien?
Alien
is an action.
I consider that more of an action than a sci-fi.
Okay, well, I don't know. A lot of people consider the first Alien movie pretty much almost damn near straight horror set in a sci-fi realm.
Well, Shags was going to name Event
That's
Horizon.
What I'm saying.
So what do you want to? What do you want to say about it, Shags?
Oh, you're okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it was like one of the first, like at a young age, I saw Event Horizon, and it was what I considered like my entry into sci-fi, and what kind of got me thinking about like faster than light travel and like moving across the universe and stuff like that, because it was so interesting. And the idea of blending like a sort of like demons with science and stuff like that was so fucking cool. Like it just made sense.
Had
And
to
then
be awkward seeing your first pair of tits and they've got cuts all over them.
yeah, it was wild. Actually, I think the first boob I remember was Linda Hamilton in Terminator, her side boob. It was pretty epic. I remember that.
Dude, man, the Friday the 13th movies, man. The Friday the 13th movies.
Mine was the German girl in European Vacation.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I always forget you're not as old as you look, Brahma.
Okay.
No, he's
I'm like,
old.
your vacation
You
hasn't
look
come out
pretty good for
that
a
long
senior citizen,
ago.
I agree.
I'm thinking you're gonna pull up like an 80. I'm like, is there a different version of the European Vacation? Is there like an older version of it?
No.
It was in the 80s.
No, but didn't that movie come out in like the 90s or something?
No. That one I'm pretty sure came out in the 80s.
Oh, okay, I'm maybe thinking of a different one then. Oh, yeah,
Could have been very early 90s, but
Yeah, right. He's still looking for the first one.
To be fair, I can confirm he's seen at least one set. Okay, I can't.
Your mom's titty does not count. All right.
Burn.
But I haven't seen your mum's tit yet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Actually, any of us that were breastfed can actually say that.
That's what I mean.
The first 3 vacations were 8. Oh, okay. Yes. I get what you're saying. National
Oh,
Lampoon's.
I don't know why I didn't think of Back to the Future.
National Lampoon's
about
European Vacation. Okay, I was thinking a Euro trip. My bad.
oh,
I thought you were thinking a Euro trip when you were saying that.
Yeah, because I always premised National Lampoon's anything with National Lampoon's European Vacation or Christmas Vacation or Vegas or like, yeah. So sorry, my bad.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Cap, the Cap's been in the news, right? Or faux Cap has been in the news. So this army decided to tweet this about the OG Captain America, saying y'all acting so weird about these comments as if Steve Rogers didn't fuck over the U.S. government every chance he got. It's my understanding that, like, I mean, Captain America is for the people.
Yes.
The government
Right.
was corrupt,
America
and
is
that's
not-
what he was fighting.
The government was
US
literally
government.
the government was literally infected with Hydra.
Yeah.
Like, the U.S. government was literally infected with nothing, and that's part of the Constitution: enemies foreign and domestic. And if your federal government is infected with Hydra, those are domestic enemies.
Yeah.
No, you know what Captain America represents? The Constitution. That's what Captain America is for. The Constitution and the people that it represents. Oh my God.
Well, the ideals of America. And I can firmly say that our government is not our ideals. The government's job is to try to remove those ideals from Americans at the moment.
Yeah.
Or limit them at very least.
And this, obviously comes on the heels of Anthony Mackie in, was it Rome? He was talking about, his little press junket regarding this movie, that Captain America represents a lot of things. And I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. What a bizarre, I think, take to have in this, again, this is where I think actors need to leave their political affiliations behind. You don't need to wear every emotion and view on your sleeve for people. There's a lot of people who look to this as hope and for America and its greatness, and not necessarily in a bad or negative way. There's obviously people who have co-opted the idea of, Captain America maybe being some white supremacist symbol, but that's probably it likely is very low numbers here. Vast majority of people just like the comic. They enjoy what he represented, how he defended people, how he stood by his values. And especially in the movies, he really stood by his principles.
Well, he tried to sound smarter than he is and stepped in it because he actually revealed his actual beliefs.
Yeah.
So, I just want to add something to what Shags said here real quick too, because he talked about a small percentage of the population trying to look at it as like some white supremacist allegory or some bullshit like that. The problem with that is those are the same delusional people, and they're not on the same quote unquote side. I think they're actually both on the same side. They just don't realize it. But those exact same people are the same ones that go, well, this character that the creator of One Piece told us is a female is actually a trans person. Like, that's literally the exact same mentality, just on the other side. So they're just as delusional. Captain America represents what Captain America has always represented in the comics, not what some delusional person wants to take him out of context and make him be about. Just as it happens on both sides.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like a couple things. I'm surprised that they still don't have it worked into contracts to just keep politics out of the press circuit. Rachel Zegler's a great example of just, keep your mouth shut. Don't say more than necessary. But like the other problem with that is that it's like culture just in general has moved towards this spectrum of now that we as people have lost our own identity, we've projected identity and purpose onto like material things and things that actually have no meaning. So you have actors like this that take something that is supposed to represent like the broad ideals of America and kind of the American way, and he's just like repurposed it into, this is my identity and therefore it can now be your identity. So I think it's a cultural problem. Like you see it even with people on the other side of we'll say just as a general term, the right side of it, right? They take all of these like anti-woke people and they adopt them as, oh, you are me. You're a part of me. And then they get offended when you maybe disagree with that person or thing, or you kind of push back against it. So yeah, that's just where culture is, unfortunately, at the time being. And it doesn't help that we're polarized on basically everything. Like you can say you like,
I don't agree with that.
there you go.
I'm not polarized about anything. That's ridiculous.
You can say you like grilled cheese and someone will be like, oh, so you hate subs? Like,
Right.
Dude, put the grilled cheese on the sub. It's the best of both worlds. It's a long grilled cheese sandwich. Why would there be an issue with that?
Unless you like Alien Romulus, then you need to unsubscribe from that person because they don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Well, and also, it's like, go ahead, Brom. I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say on the, should they just keep politics out of it, or should the contracts have it? I don't think these people see this as politics. I think they literally think their worldview is the worldview. And as long as I don't mention Trump or whatever else other politician, then I'm not being political. I'm just talking about how the world is. Yeah. Because I really don't think they're that smart.
No, they believe. I mean, just look at they
believe the things that they say.
Well, yeah, the Democrats have spent the last 4 years saying they need to save democracy. So in their minds, it's like standing up, like civil disobedience, right? Like all I have to do is like say this, and I'll save the day. Yeah, I'll be a real life hero. It's why Mark Ruffalo won't shut up. It's why he makes this comment. Like some people don't realize that they're just flat out wrong because they, and I said this, or I was thinking this as I was listening to another TikTok discussion today, is that like, there's no, like people in this country manufacture problems. First world countries, they manufacture problems that they can solve because there is no real hardship. One of the things the guy was saying in this discussion was like, you go to these other countries, there's no discussion of toxic masculinity. Like it's like you're masculine and you get shit done because you have to do it that way. And I just sat there and thought, I was like, because you don't have time for that shit. Like, yeah, the
life of luxury. America is one of those unique countries where the poorest people are also the fattest.
Yeah.
You go to anywhere else on the planet and the poorest people aren't. Like,
that's why empires fall from social issues from within. Yep. Not usually militarily from without.
Our homeless people have cell phones and have pot bellies. Like that's like literally the world we live in. But I remember what I was going to say. Anthony, oh boy, ain't that the truth? And Anthony Mackie, this isn't the first time he said something stupid like this too. Either there was a quote, and this was from I did my video today over what the Hollywood Reporter talked about with this Anthony Mackie thing, because they completely changed like the tone of way they described it. Turned some heads on the internet. They didn't say like a bunch of angry soy boy fan, yada yada yada, got all mad about this. No. They were like, it turned some heads. And then they also brought up in their article the fact fact that Anthony Mackie just like a week ago or something said, it's really good for black kids to see a black Captain America, but it's also good for white kids to see a black Captain America. I'm like,
what?
What about the brown kids?
Yeah,
what are the yellow kids?
Where's my Asian and my Mexican fucking Captain America? This is bullshit. I'm not fucking represented. This is garbage. You're racist towards Mexican and Asians now, Disney.
Well, it's Captain America, not America's. If it was Captain America,
he's only half. That doesn't count.
But if you're in a fire in California, you want to see a firefighter rescue you who looks like you.
That's right. I want a small Asian person to come pull some 350-pound motherfucker out of
I saw a funny satirical like sketch on that. It was a guy in a wheelchair. He's like, I'm just glad they hired me to be a firefighter because I could do the job just like everyone else. Like
Johnny, we need you up on the 12th floor.
Yeah.
That's like some shit that Ricky would do. Like
I'll put you across my lap. Wheel you out.
I hope your apartment while it's on fire is still wheelchair accessible.
I want my firefighters to look like the black female rapper trying to use lift.
She'll put out the fire for you in one fell swoop, though, with how big she is.
Yeah, but the problem is you can't risk her burping or farting because that'll just ignite the whole area.
Yeah, right.
That thing will blow up everything. Oh, and they say cows are the problem. I think it's fat people.
Yeah.
Don't care for cows for fat people.
Say what?
Cows don't insult.
Awesome. You're right. Cows are awesome. They give us hamburgers and milk. I love cows. Cows are great. Fat white liberals are a problem.
They are.
So,
taking a quick turn over to video games. Just want to share this. Everyone's seen it, but BioWare studio update. They are effectively laying people off, but they are moving towards the future, preparing for the next chapter in BioWare's story. As we announced in August 2023, we are changing how we build games to meet the needs of our upcoming projects and hold ourselves to the highest quality standards. Well, if only that were the case for Dragon Age Veilguard. But,
sorry.
I'm sure it has nothing to do with their CEO getting aboard on OpenAI. Has nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm sure it has. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that that game literally came in under half of the expectations that they gave it to, and it cost them hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, I'm sure it has nothing to do with that.
Yep. A core team of BioWare is developing the next Mass Effect game under the leadership of veterans from the original trilogy, thank God, including Mike Gamble, Preston Watamanuk, and Derek Watts, Paris Lay, and others. In keeping with our fierce commitment to innovating during the development of delivery of Mass Effect, we have challenged ourselves to think deeply about delivering the best experience to our fans. We are taking this opportunity to between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare. Man, I would hope so.
Imagine, I love it.
Given this stage of development, we don't require support. We require full support at the studio. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that have open roles that were a strong fit.
Sorry, what's the AI CEO thing? I haven't heard this.
Yeah, so So he was I can't think of the guy's name, the previous head of BioWare.
Mm-hmm.
He was offered a seat on OpenAI's new government thingy that they're doing.
Oh shit.
So
he's not with BioWare anymore then?
Who knows? When it comes to those sort of positions, we don't know what they can and can't do or what boards they can and can't be a part of.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
When did he get that job?
Oh, a while ago.
So
but it was.
He's either a rat abandoning a sinking ship, or he's just going to be in two places at once, which happens all the time. That's one of the things in the corporate world in America. You see that all the time. People will be on multiple boards. That's why people will talk about well, how is all of this stuff so consistent amongst all of these companies? Because a lot of these same people hold positions on boards and major investment things across all of these major corporations in media and art in art creation. And this whole fact that BioWare basically said that the 300 people that were working on Dragon Age Veilguard are all gone now, and the only person that's going to be doing any work on Dragon Age Veilguard is essentially somebody sitting there monitoring emails as part of one of their extra duties, going, well, if there's a game breaking bug that completely and totally breaks the game for like the 2,000 people that are still playing it, then we will look into putting somebody into fixing that. Other than that, we're completely and totally abandoning this game. And yeah, all of you people that had hopes of sticking around for future DLC content and future expansions, sorry. Yeah, it didn't work out.
It's weird that these...
You don't really sound sorry, though. That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't anymore. I really don't.
It's weird how it's like game after game, these things keep happening, and like within months they're like, oh, we're going to end support for this. It's like, wait, what? Like, really?
It makes sense a little bit. Yeah, like on top of that, it's like a lot of the AAA studios, especially, they went on mass hiring sprees during like the peak of COVID, and the entire industry saw a massive leap in everything during that time period, right? But it wasn't sustainable. So now you're getting, over the last, like since the tail end of 22, you've been having layoff after layoff. Then everyone is people are buying studios. There's mergers happening. So mergers, just naturally, a lot of people are let go during those to avoid doubling up on positions. And then just much like Hollywood, it's an unsustainable state financially as well. Like a game, like Concord costing $800 million. Like, you think that anyone's going to reasonably not take a hit from that? Like, this isn't a matter of like, oh, woke go broke. It's that the industry literally grew too big for its britches, and now all of the roosters are coming home to nest. That's all that's happening here.
Well, and it's still go woke, go broke at the same time, right? Because these games have failed because they hired a bunch of diversity, inclusion activists and all of that other kind of nonsense that bloated those budgets, that bloated those people. They had to have, you had to have all of these consultants, and you had to all of these advisors on what you were writing and making sure that you had the right amount of people of the right amount of color in it. And so all of these extra, there's stories and rumors that we've heard coming out of several different sources about how like literally, like when you're a project manager in some of these AAA corporations that have to deal with all this diversity inclusion, you're not being a project manager anymore. The majority of the time, all you're doing is dealing with paperwork from all of that kind of administrative nonsense because of how overbloated it's gotten. And it's because of all of the diversity, inclusion, and equity hires that they've done. That's one of the reasons why the systems, that's like Eric July talks about it, fake jobs, right? Fake jobs. You got fake jobs all over these companies. And when you look at all there and, we got to make sure that your department's 15%, female and 25% trans and 35% people of color. And what do? I got to meet my quota in order to get my bonus next year. My boss isn't giving me my bonus next quarter, and all of these diversity, because we saw that with Disney, all of these diversity quotas were attached to their bonuses and their promotions. And so if you didn't hire these people that were literally just fake jobs that didn't do anything, well, you didn't get your money.
Well, the only thing I can hope for in this whole situation is that it's like the forest fire effect, where a lot of these places, like a lot of the shit is burned away, and from that is a more fertile soil for these developers and coders and animators to go to independent studios, start their own projects, their passion projects, or go to places that just aren't subscribing to this nonsense, and that's obviously not helping.
You should be careful saying that, Shags, because you're going to trigger a whole bunch of anti-woke YouTubers saying that. That sounds sane. Like I've been saying this for years at this point. It's just like, you can't get what you wanted back. It doesn't exist anymore. So the entire industry has to burn, or you go and create an alternative. But nobody is going and creating an alternative. And nobody is also keeping an eye. I think there are people creating alternatives, to be honest, because all of those big people that, made gaming a mainstream hobby like 15, 20, 25 years ago, they're all starting their own indie studios, and they're putting out fucking bangers. So we're going to see a renaissance. I think we're already seeing the start of that renaissance. Well, but you can't just like go in and firing all these people will fix the problem. No, bro, that's a symptom of the problem.
And this also goes back to like what I was saying, Devastator, what he was saying earlier about like, I have to search for all this stuff. Like this is a part of that process. Like this renaissance is that like, there might be times where finding things will be a little bit different than it was in the past. Like you're going to have to go underground to find things that are great. You're going to have to go to places that are unconventional to get them. And that's okay because again, it's like the usual avenues, the AAA people, they're the ones that are like that. Those were the people that we were looking to put out quality games. It's not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The indie scene is where it's at. People who can express their creativities and self-publish this shit. I mean, you can literally make your own game, put it on Steam for people to buy tomorrow if you want, for any amount of money. And you could start, your own independent thing. It's totally possible. And even the film industry, you can self-fund a film. It's totally different and a little bit harder, but I'm saying like there's never been a better time to be a creative and an independent one at that.
The tools are all there. You're right. It's so easy. On top of that, you don't really have to look that hard. Like with Steam, like with console, it's a bit different, right? Because consoles are just kind of like the front for basically everything that's mainstream.
Mhm.
But if you're a PC gamer and you're on like Steam, it's so, oh my God, the possibilities are endless because you don't have to look. You can just look at what's trending or what's selling the most, like what's popular on the charts this week kind of deal.
Yep.
It's all there right for you. The amount of people there are just making also like meme compilation videos and all of this stuff that you can just find randomly scrolling through the gaming section on YouTube.
Mhm.
It's so incredibly easy to find a game that suits you. Like someone introduced me to like this because I got really into Stardew Valley these past couple months. So someone sent me a video of this game that's still in beta. It's like a Final Fantasy meets Stardew Valley kind of like pixel simulator, but it's also a porn game. So you can like go and like mate with like monsters and stuff like this, and you can raise like whole new like legions of like people or live. Yeah. So I was like, I'm not for porn games, but you have my interest in the fact that like that's just thrown in there. So it's like
I think Major Kill got a sponsorship from that game because it's a mobile game too, right?
Right.
So it's like,
Use code VEX for a new animal hero that you can fuck.
It's so easy, man. It's so easy. Like all the games I play these days are indie games essentially.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. It really isn't that hard.
Well, and like you said, like you end up making a game that you want. Like I'm currently working with a group that's like, we're trying to make our very own game. We're all learning from the ground up on this. And the best part about it is we
I'm sure Ranch Simulator is going to be great.
What's that?
Ranch Simulator. Ranch.
Yeah. Well, and the best part is we all sit there and be like, this is the kind of game we love. This is what we want to create. Well, guess what? We can do just that. The sky is the limit. The knowledge is the limit. So you just got to learn the ins and the outs of these things, and you can make it a reality. I don't, and whether it takes a year or 5 years, it doesn't matter. Because for me, it's like the journey, the process of learning is the whole thing. And then the end result, like, do I want to make money doing it? Sure. But it's more about the passion of creating something that didn't exist before, that I'm like, I wish there was more of. Well, guess what? Now there's more of it.
That's why Jesse has so many kids. He loves creating things.
Exactly. Yes.
I won't be getting Shag's game. I know the creators are woke.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like, it's just, and beyond that, like, do I want new stories? Yeah. Like I've had a sci-fi story that I've been writing for about a year now. Like that's like, I haven't really buckled down to put that in, but again, it's just another thing that I want to create that people can read, and then it'll be a multi-part series. Like that's like it's all there.
You just put it out there, man. That's it.
Yep. And then you can complain because you're actually doing something.
Yeah.
So
very true. Very true.
I mean, I agree with Shags. There's definitely a joy in just the creation.
See, told you, or at least the practice of it.
Yeah, right.
And I agree. That's the best part. If you're out there going out there and creating things, you can absolutely complain about everybody else not. So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna get us to fucking Mars between me, Elon, and oh, damn it, what's that? John
Osama
Marsden.
bin Laden. Oh wait, sorry.
No, Marsden.
You got people with big.
Yeah, so Marsden's got me beat. He's got he's got 13. Like Marsden's got me way beat.
Damn.
Yeah. I'm proud of that, man.
I was gonna bring this up real quick because it's funny to me. This is what I thought Elon was doing, and Father Calvin Robinson did this. I don't even know where he is, but let me pop this up on the screen real quick. I like him. I've seen him on talks before. He's very much for like meritocracy, working hard, very much against the grain. He's
what
been
a
on,
bigot.
right.
Right.
But here's him on stage.
God bless all of you for what you're doing. Please keep doing it. I hope that I can encourage you, and my heart goes out to you. God bless.
And I just thought, like, man, this guy's great. Like,
Fucking legend. I love that.
So chill.
Yeah, I love the smile. Like, I know what I'm doing, and fuck everyone, you know. And obviously, he's not as well known as Elon, but there's no outrage regarding this. Oh, you know, he's the wrong color. He's black, so he can do that.
That guy's black.
He is, I think, half, but you know,
Well, Elon,
who's
South
counting?
African.
Well, that
I mean-
Obama was the first black president, but he was only half too. His mother was white as the driven snow, so
She was
And so,
Atlanta.
they raised him. Well, she was more Snow White than our current Snow White. So
Dang.
Quick little happy update. At least 4 people have been pulled from the water.
hey,
Oh,
alive.
good.
That's good.
That is good, especially with something like that. Because yeah, wow, that's the one time you don't generally survive those is when they're in the air like that. So
I still think you'll find that there'll be a January 6th that was on board. We can't go. I mean, it'll be 4 days in a row where a January 6th person has died. So
it'll be January 6th, and it'll be Capitol Police that'll have been flying the helicopter.
Oh, it was a Black Hawk. It was military.
No,
don't bring race into this drama.
They said.
it's the civilian version. It might be a UH-60, but it is not a Black Hawk. There is a difference.
King said that they were intentionally flying dark, like that. He read that, so
Well,
I don't
we
know.
saw
Oh,
it
wow.
on the screen flashing lights. So
Well, yeah, I was gonna say we
didn't
saw
look that
the
dark.
no, it wasn't flying dark on the video we saw. You could literally see the lights go from being really big and bright and then explosion. And the lights were from the helicopter because the helicopter from the video we watched this was coming straight at us.
But I
Maybe
will
they're
say
aiming for the
the American
cameraman.
media is sick. I mean, if you're on Twitter, there's a guy who is waiting at the airport to find out if his wife is one of the people they're pulling out of the water. And they're literally trying to interview him while he's sitting at the airport, you know, mostly grieving. And they're like, well, can we see her text to you?
Oh my lord!
It's like,
Oh my goodness.
do you ever think before you do anything or say anything? Or is it just automatically, let's see how we can take advantage of anything?
This is why
was this legacy media or was this some fucking independent journo? Do you have any idea, Brahma?
I don't know.
Okay.
I've been somewhat paying attention to it, but trying to stay in our conversation. So
No, I
I've just
appreciate
been.
What was the last thing that
scrolling.
you said to your wife? You know, it'll be that sort of one. Was it a good
Dude,
conversation?
that's-
Were you angry?
Right? Like, dude, that is so fucked up.
Do you feel any guilt
No.
about not being on board with her?
We all need Jesus because that is just fucked up thing to ask, man. That is just a fucked up thing to ask. Holy cow. Bible study, 10 p.m. Sundays. Oh, wow.
here's this. King was from Nick Sorter. The military Black Hawk that crashed into an American Airlines flight in Washington, D.C. was reportedly flying dark per ADS-B exchange. The chopper was not broadcasting an ADS-B signal at the time. That's what they mean by flying dark.
In
So I
dark.
figured-
Okay. The anti-collision detection mode thing.
I
Because
was
almost every aircraft is is fitted with anti-collision tech now.
Yeah, I think everything
Yeah.
over a certain size
And
has to be.
you can tell from the surface whether it's on because they all flash green. That's how you know when it's on.
Oh, really?
Well, it is definitely out here for all the commercial ones. That's how you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the reason why there's always a green flashing light on planes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hmm.
That's just wild, though. That's so sad. And like again, it's why like I can't be a salesman. I couldn't be like an on like scene news reporter. Like I just don't have that like shit bone in my body to like.
But dude, not everybody, none of the good ones that we think about from the back in the day were shit assholes like that that did things like that. Like nobody thinks about Ted Koppel and thinks about what he did for any of that kind of stuff. Nobody even thinks about.
But he was a womanizer, so that doesn't count.
Right, exactly. So it makes him the worst person on the face of the fucking planet. Just like because God knows the majority of the mass media isn't like that. They're not all on drugs and alcohol and having orgies. No, that never happened. Yeah, well, Anderson Cooper's orgies were a whole different kind of level of depravity. But like it's one of those things. It's like not everybody has to be like that. You can have integrity, and guess what? Yeah, we need to make journalism great again. And that's the best part about the independent sphere is we have to be better than them. And I've said this before. It's integrity. It's having a moral standard. It's having a moral code. It's having a biblical worldview if you really want to go that far. These people out there don't have those standards. And all they're wanting to do is being the first person to get some fucked up reaction to go viral wherever it is. And those are the kind of people that we have to replace. Those are the kind of people that independent media have to be better than. And I've gone on this rant before about people on our own sides when it comes to the way we skew things and some of the media stuff. But it's got to be
rants.
No, I would never do that. I would never go on rants ever.
Especially when a guest has only got like 4 minutes left.
I mean, she's been nothing much more than me being wanting Arby's. But we just have to be better than them. Even if we're going to be, if we're going to be the first responders, we have to be better than what the legacy media has done in the past.
I did put something else in the private chat that's been blowing up on Twitter for the past few hours. But
so now you're interrupting Vex. Okay.
I'd like to get Vex's take on it before we go.
Oh my God.
I find this hilarious. This is absolutely something all dads would just consider doing. And yet everybody's going nuts about this. And they're sending the cops to investigate it.
No, this is the best. No, what?
It's having fun with your toddler. I'm sure the toddler is cracking up the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
He's laughing his ass off. The baby's completely bundled up. This is fucking retarded.
I haven't seen the video.
Baby to push snow off his car is being investigated by the police after a video of the disgraceful act. Fuck you, Twitter. Fucking community notes.
What do you think,
Vex?
Vex?
I've never been a dad.
No, I see no problem with this. Kids love this fucking shit, man. Like you can threaten them to like throw them out a window and they'll still laugh. They'll start laughing. You know, this look, the kid's completely bundled up.
And this is
fine.
Texas. That kid may not see snow again for years.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing is like even when he's like 8 or 9 years old, they could show him this video and he's going to laugh so hard again.
You will.
Such
Look,
a memory.
He's trying to support the baby as properly as he can too. On top of this, he's not just ragdolling him.
And this isn't like some like from brand like this isn't
It's
like
not
mine.
a newborn.
Like,
it obviously has neck control.
Yep.
Right. Like this baby could easily be a year old at this stage. You know what I mean? Because this ain't too much different size of the one I got at the house. So it's like this is so my daughter would be laughing her ass off the entire time. My daughter would be laughing her ass off the entire time if I was doing this to her.
Yeah. So would my kids back in the day. And I'm sure my granddaughter will when I do it in about 3 days with her. Now I've gotten the idea.
Second man arrested in Texas.
No, he's in Colorado.
Yeah.
No, but he'll be arrested in Texas for some weird reason. He'll go to Texas and then get arrested.
You know what's going to happen is the CPS in Texas is going to look at this and go, all right, look, we got to do paperwork because somebody called. Let's come sit down, have a conversation. Yada, yada, yada. Endangerment of your kids. Pee in this cup, please us. All right, cool. Sign this paperwork. All right, we're going to leave and never see you again. Like, this is literally like, I don't know. It depends on what city this is in, I guess. But like, yeah.
It could be worse. Your kid could be, have traces of cocaine in the system. I mean, that would be way worse.
Here we go again. Go.
Oh man.
So, yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. I've seen a couple of these videos circulating of parents doing it, and the kids are having a blast with it. They love it.
Well,
I
this is
mean,
the
there was
worst part,
a
they've got
trend
this
on
bullshit.
there's a
They've got
trend on
this
the internet
bullshit-
throwing cheese at children's heads, and no one gets in trouble
right.
for that.
Like, I hate the fact that there's music over the top of this, because if you could actually listen to the original video, this kid is probably giggling their fucking ass off the entire time. It's not like this child is screaming. Otherwise, if this child was screaming, there wouldn't be no background music over the fucking top of this. Okay.
There wouldn't. Nope. Hi, Cream.
Hey, Cream. Well, Vex, I know you have to get going. It's way past your bedtime over on the East Coast.
Oh yeah, way past.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Like I said,
Oh, dude, it was my pleasure. I would love to hang out more. Just it would just be on a time limit. That's all. So I don't, because now every time I stay up past 1 o'clock, it fucks my sleep schedule up for the next 2 to 3 days, and I just I can't afford to do that like reasonably. So it is
No
what
problem.
it is. Yeah.
What do you got coming up?
I do a stream on my channel every Sunday morning at 10 Eastern. Early morning. Oh wow. Oh, it's right on the screen. Early morning.
It looked better if it was vertical.
Early morning Vexhibitionism. I just kind of like talk about something and dissect something that I watched that week. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go see Companion.
Oh, I want to see that so bad.
Yeah, I'm gonna see it either tomorrow or Friday. So if that's the case, I'm gonna review that this Sunday. But my Nosferatu video has been temporarily put on pause just because I have some real life stuff that comes first. So
right.
But yeah.
Well,
Thanks,
cool.
man. It was great hanging with all of you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the hump day. Have a beautiful week as well. Chat, you guys are awesome. Stay sexy.
Thank you.
Stay frosty. There you go.
Good luck with you.
All right.
Cheers,
you.
Vex.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
Right, thanks for being here.
Go sub, go follow Vex on all the things, because she is awesome. Her takes on movies are spectacular, well thought out. She knows what she's talking about. Please go support her if you're not already. Yeah.
Oh, well, I remember, Brum, have you watched American Primeval yet?
I've watched the first 2 episodes. I haven't gotten through the rest yet.
Okay.
I've
How
heard
do you
it's
get the
like okay. I've heard it's pretty good, but it like
He froze again.
Dude,
What do you guys think of it?
It did the one thing that I didn't think was possible. It made me actually enjoy and want to see Jai Courtney in something else. I didn't think that was possible.
Ooh, that's always nice. Hey, look, there he is. Shags, what did you think of Primeval before you freeze again?
I haven't seen it. I was hearing multiple people talk about how it tries, like it gets a little messy because it tries to switch between too many people. Like it tries to do what Game of Thrones does, but with less interesting characters. Again, this is
in like only 6 episodes as well.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
the problem,
obviously you have, hindsight of 8 seasons or whatever, but that being said, when they compared them 1-to-1 on like how the series progressed with Game of Thrones versus this, that was the take originally. Now the time period and the setting completely interests me. I will watch it.
Well,
I'm not going to.
It's your state's history.
Yes.
It shows you the part where they invented soaking. It's great.
Oh, it's so awesome. It's like the only reason I'm going to watch it now. No, like I the people who said this, I respect their opinions, but like this is one of those things like I would rather watch, because again the look is very much something that I'm interested in. The story, very interested in. So I'd like to see how it goes. And I've heard really great things from other people about it too. They're like, wow, this is a great new series. So
Mad really enjoyed it, I think.
So remind me again, this is the one that's about like the Mormon. Is this the one about the Mormons wars out in like Utah and like the West and stuff like that? Or am I completely and totally off base on this one?
The Mormons are a portion of it.
But yeah, it's
Okay.
that's in there. That's not what the series. It's just basically about, the founding of America.
Brigham Young is basically in control of the Utah territory and has his own personal church army, and settlers are trying to get to other places and go through Utah. I mean, there's stuff.
I was
do they
just
say
curious.
cocksucker all the time?
Nope, it's
Damn
not
it.
Deadwood.
Fuck.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
no
now
swearing in this one.
The only reason I was curious is because my grandfather was a black powder a black powder like gun hobbyist, you could call him. But like, if you ever saw any of his work, you'd be like, that guy is a fucking master. And a lot of the stuff he did. But no, there was a Mormon guy that was going out west that actually designed a rifle that was one of the first ones where you had multiple shots in your rifle, and he made essentially a steel bar clip, I guess you could call it, that had like individual rounds. It had like 6 rounds in it, and there was I guess there was some of them that were all the way up to 18 that my grandfather found in some documentation. But he made one out of scratch, and that's what they used it for was the Indian Wars as they were traveling west, because you could literally get 6 shots off. You could have somebody be loading the next ones or have already a bunch of them loaded up, and it was like this clip, and you put it in there and you latched it, and it locked everything into the trigger, and then it acted like a black powder muzzle. It acted like a black powder rifle with the cap on the back end of it, and you just had a cap on every one of them, and you just slid it over each individual one. As that was one of the ways they got through all of that kind of stuff, was having guns that had multiple shots, even though they were limited. That's one of the reasons why they survived as long as they did with that kind of stuff. So I was just curious, because that was just like fun little factoid from my history. My grandfather was creating some amazing stuff.
Lots of Mormons, lots of Indians, lots of settlers.
Okay.
And it was written by the guy who wrote The Revenant, which is the
That's
reason why I would say it. So,
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely have my interest.
That's another movie I need to go back and watch again. Like, I watched it once and I remember being like, holy shit, this is so good.
I don't know. Can you handle a movie with Tom Hardy where you can't quite understand what he's saying?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Isn't that every movie?
I would say every movie Tom Hardy's in. What are you talking about?
I was born in the dark.
What was the... you know what movie
Even
I
in
wanted...
Dunkirk, he was just muffled over the radio the whole time.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in, damn it, what was that one about all the monsters from the Victorian times? Oh, damn it, I can't remember the name of it, but he was in that one
Series?
too. Yeah, there was a series that was about like it was
The one
about
with Eva Green.
Yes, where she played the vampire or whatever.
I'm trying to remember the name of it.
It had Rose Tyler. It had the chick that played Rose Tyler from Doctor Who.
Billy Piper.
Yeah, it had Billy Piper in it. He was good in that one.
And Josh Hartnett was in it too, wasn't he?
Yes, Josh Hartnett, I think, was like one of the main guys in it. If I remember.
Taboo.
No.
So what?
Not Taboo. No.
No, it was something like because it was a reference. Oh, Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
Oh,
Penny
right.
Dreadful series.
Penny Dreadful. Yeah, the Penny Dreadful series.
Wait, he was in Penny Dreadful?
I thought he was in Penny Dreadful, wasn't he? Maybe I'm really tired.
I don't remember him being in that. He was definitely in the one about the gangs with the straight edges in their hats. Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
Yeah. He played the Jew.
He was the Jew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always funny. That was my favorite. That was one of my favorite scenes from some of the bullshit in Boardwalk Empire. Was when the Italians and the Jews were hanging out and like, yeah, but this one doesn't fuck his wife through a sheet.
Boardwalk Empire is one of those it was talked about while it was on, but like I feel like it's never remembered as a great, but it really is. It's
one of my favorite series of all time. I loved that right from the beginning to the end, except for the fact that I was rooting for Homeboy all the way until the end. I wanted to have
in real life he survived.
Ending, but...
He did. He had a real life happy ending, but they said they don't want to glorify criminal like you. I'm like, why make that? Like everyone survived. He didn't kill any of his allies. He didn't get killed by some kid walking around. He ended up becoming a mayor, and he died a very wealthy man.
Was that the one with Buscemi?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the character.
Yeah.
Be right back.
Oh God. And it's so good. Okay, you know what? Then we just need to make a fan adaptation and give it a proper ending where he gets his retirement and his mayor and everything else, because that would make it a perfect series, because I loved that thing from the beginning to end, and I was rooting for him the whole time. That was one of those few ones that I was really excited to see the new episodes all the time. And yeah, I think you're right, Shags. That is very much an underrated series. That is Boardwalk Empire is absolutely incredible. One of the masterpieces of HBO.
And Pleplius is completely correct in chat. Eva Green has good assets and she uses them.
Yeah.
She may have the best boobs in Hollywood.
Yeah, they're pretty great.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
She made Sin City 2 almost watchable, and she made 302 almost watchable.
I don't think I ever saw 302 all the way through. I think I passed.
I never
out.
saw the sequel. Yeah.
Well, she's in it, and so are they.
So duly noted, added to the list of things to watch.
Or at least scenes.
Yeah.
Scenes to watch.
The clips on the internet. Thank you very much. Hello, Jenna Coleman. Anyway.
I did. So I think I've been telling you guys about the show, The Pit. I've mentioned it a couple times over the past couple of weeks. It's basically an ER show in a trauma center in Pittsburgh. We just watched the 4th episode today. It was the first one. Well, I think the previous episode was starting to give me hints of like, okay, they're about to get preachy. This one, so the waiting room is completely filled with people, and
All diverse.
They call this person Tommy so-and-so. Tommy so-and-so, we're ready for you. And then a woman stands up. And so we got to have the trans story in here.
Fuck.
So the story, like her little portion of it, like the thing they keep cutting to is she has like a cut like on her wrist that looks like an attempted suicide. She claims that it's so she's a sommelier. So she claims that it was like a wine carafe that broke, and then when she like recoiled, it like just cut. They don't really like, so again, the body language that I see there makes me think that there's some mental stuff going on, and she's trying to play this off as, oh, hey, I fucked up and I don't really want to die, but blah, blah, blah. They didn't really get preachy with it, but it was just kind of one of those awkward moments where one of the attending, like the students, like they finish up, they sew her up, and then as everyone's like about to leave the room, they say the girl says, she's kind of this awkward Indian girl. She's like, "Oh, I also want to apologize because they misgendered you on your paperwork, and like I'll correct that for you, no problem." But there's this like awkward pause from, the trans woman, it was like, because I would have thought she would be like, "Oh, thank you so much. Like I can't believe they did that," but like she gives her this weird look, like kind of like a "how dare you." And then even the girl who is with her, who's like teaching her,
what Blair White would say, "But I am a guy. I just look like a
no, it was more like, I don't even know how to explain it. I probably should just like cue up. I should have queued it up.
Like offended that somebody even
brought it up,
that they noticed.
Yeah, I guess. But it would like to me, it would have made more sense, like. Because when she's initially called in the waiting room, she's like offended, like, "How dare you dead name me?" Right? Like, doesn't say it, but like the body language and the what she says hints at that. So when the young attending, like the doctor student says, "Hey, let me correct this mistake that I see here," she's like taken aback and like never gets excited at the fact that like, "Oh, thanks so much. Like that's really nice of you."
She's perpetually offended.
Right. It was such a weird exchange. And I thought like, it's like, doesn't even know like where it wants to go with this. And they did start this sort of like abortion timeline here in this, because a girl comes in, she's, I want to say, no, she's not 12. She's maybe 15. She's young. And the mom is from the Goonies. I can't think of her name, but the mom's there. And then the girl, like it seems like the girl doesn't want to give it up, and the mom is like forcing her to give it up. And it looks like they're going to do this. The story is going to be like, they're going to undersize the measurements to make it okay to
lie about it.
Yeah. So
to say that,
because they would never
not
do
as
that.
far along as.
Yeah, so it wouldn't actually violate the law. Yeah, I'm sure they would. I'm sure the medical industry in the real world would never do anything like that.
Yeah, so I was kind of like, well, but the show in and of itself has been really good at just walking the line, not being preachy. This was the only episode where I was like, oh man, are they about to do what I think they're gonna do? I'm still really into the show. The next episode comes out tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's that show is just like has you on the edge of your seat, like, oh my god, what's going to happen? Is this guy going to die? Is he okay? Like, and I think that's why I like it so much is that they reel you into these people who you meet really quick, but like attach you to them, like you care, like what's going on. So, anyways, that's more for chat. I preach to you guys every week, but for chat.
Well, no, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think it's good that you recognize that kind of stuff is coming up, because I think it's one of those situations where I think once there is an actual awakening to what the subtle ways they have done some of these things without coming out as overly preachy, right? Like you said, something felt uncomfortable about this person the entire time. And then when I said perpetually offended, that almost seemed to resonate, right? Like they were mad no matter what, right? No matter how, the fact that they assumed it. And I can go on a long rant about the whole fact of if you freaking misgender somebody in the emergency room, how it will actually end up in their death, because guess what? Drugs affect male and female biology differently. And no matter what you do to yourself, that doesn't change. But it's one of them situations where I have noticed this watching, like my wife is obsessed with like Criminal Minds, and like we watch Pluto TV all the time because like they've got all the CSI Miami, and CSI Miami is one of the few that I don't actually see some of this stuff in. Maybe it's because it's in Miami and it's nothing but chicks and bikinis the entire time. I don't know.
Because it was the 90s.
Well,
that show has been off the air for 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, true. Oh, that's fair. But it's one of those things, but like Criminal Minds and some of these other ones, and I guess I noticed this during one of the scenes is there was a guy in a vehicle and he was having a mental breakdown. He was completely and totally delusional, right? He was getting ready to hurt people. And the people that have the guns on him are like these 5'2" females, right? That maybe weigh 100 pounds sopping wet. And they're the ones on both sides of the car with all of these men. I mean, there's probably 20 men behind them in SWAT gear and everything else. And you've got these two itty bitty little females that are the ones pointing their guns at this guy in a car. And I'm like, I get that they've got guns. I get that they probably are really good shots and stuff like that. But in what reality of an actual situation would that really happen? You know what I mean? And it just like, it's one of those things. It's been a slow encroachment over the years. You know, I talked about the CW in the past where it's like, I didn't have a word for it, but I knew it was bad and I didn't like it. And then now I have a word for it. It's like, that's what it was. It's been this slow encroachment over decades to where you slowly accept certain things and you don't realize it until something finally snaps in your brain and you go, wow, I actually do see what you're doing with that. And I think it's subconscious level.
Well,
I think
the
it's
word
kind of
for
what
it is
you get from that.
desensitization.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's desensitization of doing it. But yeah, at some point your brain wakes up and you go, and now you realize everything was like, oh shit, that's what you guys have been doing for the last like, oh, I don't know, 15, 20 years, if not longer.
Yeah, desensitize and, you know, create a sense of normalcy around something that was never considered normal before we decided suddenly 10 years ago it's normal.
So bizarre, man. I don't even know how to, like, during my discussion last night, I kept thinking, you know, because I mentioned the whole thing about like, because they complain like, well, you can't survive nowadays without a cell phone, or like you need it. You need the internet. I'm like, I was like, you realize that, you know, not so long ago, like no one had a cell phone and no one had the internet in their house. Like they got along. Now, to their point, they made a good point. Like, you know, our world has evolved to like around these technologies, and they're not lying about that. That's totally true. But you know, it is entirely possible to still survive without a cell phone. And even more like, or if you need a cell phone, rather, you can get them very cheap. You know, like Cricket Mobile has them, you know, pay as you go type things. Right. And is one of the things I was getting at with them was like, people just need to live within their means rather than.
If you're on food stamps, you get a free cell phone from the government.
Obama phone.
That's still a thing to this day. It legitimately is. If you are on food stamps, you still get a free cell phone. So it's like that whole argument that, well, they can't have access to it, they have to have this or they can't do it. motherfucker, your own government, your own tax dollars already provide that shit. And I get kind of what you're saying to that too, Shags, because I had a job too where they literally like depending on how the things were working down at the port, it was like some days they'd text you and go, hey, we got things for you to do this morning. And other mornings they text you and go, we don't have anything for you to do. Don't bother coming in today. But that wouldn't stop them from calling you at your house. You know what I mean?
Landline. I mean, the one place where they might have a point is anymore, the technology has gotten to the point that we've stopped older technology that we did use before cell phones.
Right.
Like we don't have, the yellow pages and the white pages coming automatically to our houses anymore. So we don't have the phone numbers to conduct commerce unless you can go look up the website and find out what the number is. It would be very hard to do a lot of things now. There aren't a lot of atlases being printed of roadmaps and stuff. Like I delivered pizza when I was 18, all the way through college, and we didn't have maps on our phones. We actually had a map book that we had to actually know how to read a map to get to where we were going.
Right.
None of these people would survive now without a phone. Right.
And the thing is like there's and you know this, but like there's ways to dispute all of those things. She's the exception. We're talking about the rule, right? Like most people could get around those humps. The problem is they're not willing to do so because they're just a little too difficult. Again, you need to find directions. Well, this is what you used to do when you didn't have the internet in your home. You either do it at school or you go to the library, which had some sort of connection. You might even have to go to the library too, because they would have maps of the area, or you would go to the, they don't have,
or you would look up an address in the phone book, and then you would go into a map book and find that address, and then route it.
So, and like even more so, like it's totally possible. Like, well, how am I supposed to find a job? There are jobs within your area that you are refusing to work because you believe it's below you. But how desperate are you to survive? Right? Like,
call center is a horrible place to work, but they're always looking for workers.
Right. You can sit your fat obese ass in your chair
and you can be just as annoying on the phone with them as you are on the internet.
And that fucking bullshit excuse. Did you hear her excuse for not doing that? Were you?
No, I don't know that I
started. Okay, so I recommended. I said, "Why don't you work at a call center?" She goes, "Well."
So we're on the same line of thought, huh?
Yeah,
or same train of thought.
She goes, "Well, I have autism, and that makes social interactions weird. So I would say things that are inappropriate and probably get fired." And I'm like,
"And yet you're on TikTok doing social interactions."
Yeah, I was like, "You're doing fine just now." She's like, "Well, in person, it's different."
That's not what a call center is.
I was going to say, this is still in person if we're having a TikTok debate. It's literally less impersonal if you're on the phone with somebody. Yeah. That's what it is. It's always some argument. It's always some bullshit excuse that they want to come up with. It's like one of them situations where it's like, my wife's going to be off work for the next 6 weeks. You don't think I'm seriously not considering getting a part-time job outside of doing all of this just to make sure that I don't have to worry about covering my rent and my electric bill right now? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have a problem if I have to fucking go fucking flip burgers or fucking take an order at Taco Bell for fucking the next 6 months just to keep everything else afloat while we recover from my job being off work, my wife being off work for 6 weeks. I don't give a fuck. I have a family to provide for, I'm blessed with the job that I have doing. I've been able to do it for as long as I have been and keep everything afloat. But if I have to take a part-time job and work fucking 20 or 30 hours a week at fucking Burger King, well, who fucking cares? Like, guess what? My kids still have a roof over their head and their dad's still home. Like,
yeah. And the funniest part about the whole thing was, they're all up in arms. Well, I'm 70 grand in debt. Like, I went to school. I have a degree. And I said, well, what's your degree in? And I kid you not. She says, gender studies.
Wow, no.
Yeah.
No, you actually met one.
Yeah. Oh, and this is even funnier. So one girl was trying to school me on education, and like she's like, "Oh, these elementary schools are shutting down, and these kids who are going to school, like they have to drive 120 miles to their nearest school." But little did she know that the town that she was talking about was the town that's right next to mine.
For that part, yeah.
And I called her out on it. I was like, "You are lying." I was like, "This isn't happening." Yeah, well, when schools in like Ogden's really big, so. And I said, even if you're talking about through the valley, like to like the area she's talking about, I said, that's not 120 miles.
There's rural areas.
Yeah, and even those, they're maybe 15 minutes outside of the city. They're not 120 miles. 120 miles is down past Provo. Like it's twice as it's like 2.5 hours away. That's not
Right.
like I could not believe what I was hearing. And it's, you know, she didn't think that I would be local to her. Like it's very hard to find someone in close proximity in those
I
debates.
lasted about 10, 15 minutes after that. Because
Yeah,
they just blew by that completely. When
That is
you
somebody who
told
is
her on absolutely, I know this firsthand BS.
Mhm.
And they were like, nope.
that is literally somebody who has never grown up in any kind of rural or country area ever. Okay, I literally dated a girl in high school that went to a school that the class before hers had 20 people in the graduating high school. There is not anywhere in this country you have to go more than 25 or 50 miles to get to your school. And if you do, guess what? The bus picks you up and takes you there. That is the most ignorant fucking stuck in a city statement I have ever heard. You have clearly never lived in the country in your entire life. Like it, that.
Oh yeah, the one was from Ogden.
Every small town in Missouri has a fucking school district. Every small town, doesn't matter if their population is fucking 100 or fucking 5,000. It's so that is so.
Oh, totally. And like really, the real reason that these schools are closing down is like oversaturation of like schools. Like there's
too many schools,
too many schools and not enough kids. And that's like the elementary school next to me, they shut down because there wasn't enough, like they're splitting kids up too much. And there's a lot that go to the school right near me. So they just kind of shut them down. Now again, these things, when the schools close down, they're not closing down mid-school year. You know, they finish out the school year, they close, and then they have a plan for what happens next.
They funnel half of the students to this school to the north, another one, the other half to this school to the south, or they split them up 25% to east, west, north, south, whatever the closest one is.
Yep. What's up, Riken? Good to see you, bro.
Districts have multiple schools. That's why school districts are a thing.
Yeah.
If there were only the two schools, there would not be a district. I mean, that's just not the way the system is set up.
Get to Rumble.
Enjoy that membership, brother. Yeah, it was just they had an excuse for everything. No one wanted to accept responsibility. I got called a misogynist, even though they were intersex non-binary. They made me like, they went on this 20-minute rant about how like they're disabled, level 1 autism, intersex, non-binary. Yeah, it was just like, I was like, what are these people like? What is not? And I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I kept saying to them, I'm like, I'm not talking about you. You are a special case. You are different than almost everyone. I said, but the vast majority of people, they have the ability to find a job, even if they don't like it, to take care of themselves, live below their means. Like you can act in a minimalist way when you're trying to get out of debt, when you're trying to, save to buy a house. Like everybody does this. Like our housing prices, insane. Absolutely. No lie there. But you can absolutely find a place that doesn't have insane rent. That might be a studio apartment that you have to live in for a while. So you can save money to put aside for a house. Because eventually you'll be able to save your money to pay a mortgage rather than pay rent. Like, but you have to save money first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
Save
you're
money.
building up equity.
Yeah.
Equity is always better than being a renter.
Yeah. And they don't understand that. But they also don't want that responsibility either, Brahma. Something breaks, they have to fix it. Or they have to pay someone to do it. You know, their gender studies don't help it with that, you know.
Gender studies gets you qualified to work at Starbucks, and that don't essentially pay a mortgage.
Yeah.
At this point, they're just pissed off that Biden wasn't able to forgive their student loans.
Oh boy, ain't that
Basically.
the day. Oh my God.
Basically. It's hard to live humbly when you're not humble. This is very true.
Exactly.
Very, very true.
And it's also hard to get paid over $100,000 a year when you get a degree in something that doesn't matter or exist.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the worst part about it is there are Votech school jobs that will make you more than $100K a year. And guess what? You didn't have to spend $120,000 to do it. Oh, here's a strange concept. Maybe don't get a bullshit degree and it's something that doesn't fucking exist. I don't know. Here's a concept. I know. Strange concept. Those dumb blue collar. I mean, shit, your average trash truck driver makes more than these people with a gender studies degree. You know what I mean? It's like, I wonder which career path was actually the better idea.
Mike Rowe has been saying it for decades.
No, I love Mike Rowe.
Trade jobs. That's
Yep.
you
Honestly,
can make plenty of money in trade.
Yeah, go be an office manager for a construction company. Like, you'd sit on your ass all day and help field calls, direct people to job sites, or talk with insurance. Like, easy.
I've seen plenty of fat chicks doing that job.
Be a secretary at a doctor's office or dentist office. You don't have to have any actual skills other than setting appointments, accepting payments, and you're getting paid pretty good to basically be what used to be called a secretary, but that's far too
executive assistant
chauvinistic now. So
now you're an assistant. It's an assistant. I mean, dude, you can and I get the whole socially awkward people. For anybody that has even a half bit decent memory and a gift of gab to any level whatsoever, if you can become a high end waiter, if you can work your way up and become an excellent waiter, I had buddies of mine that were making $1,000 on a Friday night waiting fucking tables,
cash, walking home with
cash. Walking home, not having to report all their tips, reporting just their credit card shit and pocketing all of the rest of that money and going home. Dude, yeah, it's I didn't even think about that. I was I'm thinking about all these dumbass jobs I can get right now. And I'm like, dude, there's 7 high-end restaurants in my fucking town that I could walk in there and make fucking stupid money working 3 or 4 days a week. They probably would never take me just working 3 or 4 days a week. But
it's wild to me that people will make the excuse that they're awkward, so they would rather see their life go down the tubes. It's if you really cared about your life, you would go beyond that awkwardness to make
get out of your
work.
comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone.
And guess so you're going to starve because you're awkward?
You're trying to designate yourself as permanently disabled.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to face something.
And honestly, sometimes awkward people, depending on where you work in, depending on the customer service, if you work at a library, if you work at a bookstore, or even if you work at a restaurant, some people think awkward is fucking adorable. They're going to love you for being weird and kind of off-putting. And when there's these great books over here and we, at Half Price Book. And I really like this series, or, there's this margarita that if I have a few too many of them, it makes me a little loosey and gets me out of my comfort zone. So I don't have, but they're great and they taste really yummy. Dude, that's going to sell a margarita all freaking day long and twice on Sunday at any restaurant in the world, especially to a group of freaking guys. You work in a college town or a military town. That is such a bullshit excuse, man. Such a bullshit excuse.
Yep. Yeah. I'm
like you said, first world problems, man. If they were starving, trust me, they would not be. Dude, if that chick with first level autism and all of her awkwardness was starving to death, right? And living in her car or living on the street, I guarantee you her awkwardness would go away real fucking quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's an excuse to not actually change because it's work, so I don't know. It was a really difficult conversation to have. The only reason I actually stopped because it got so late last night, but I probably would have kept going, even though it got to be a shouting match. Because that was the other thing. So I got yelled at because I said, "Oh, you have a dog? You're disabled. You don't have money, and yet you have a dog?
Yeah.
How's that?" And she's like, "It's a service dog, you fucking asshole." And I was like, "Of course it was." Okay. So
and then the thing about the cat later.
Oh yeah. Then I said, so my cat was whining in the background and they heard it. And before I could answer, she goes, "Oh, that's probably my cats." And I go, "You have cats?" I said, "You're broke and you have 2 cats and a dog."
You're complaining about money, and then you voluntarily are having to feed other living creatures, whatever.
How dare you? It was just I'm like, no, I was like, this is a real thing. Like cats are expensive. Oh, well, how do you know they're mine? Then after like 5 minutes, she's like, well, how do you know they're even mine? I was
You
like,
just said my cats.
yeah, like, okay. If you want to play this game, but yeah, it was so funny. Like you're living beyond your means. You're complaining that you're broke. Like, I don't have any sympathy for you. Like, sorry, lady. But
we've got more breaking news on that.
Sweet.
I don't know who this guy is, but it's the same person who said that the Doomsday plane was circling. They seem to be paying a lot of attention to it. The Blackhawk did not have its transponder on and was designated as PAT, which is Priority Air Transport. That means that they were a very high-ranking military official on board. And it was a military Blackhawk, but it was the ones that are used for transporting.
Yeah, that's why it didn't look like a proper Blackhawk. So it's a UH-60, but it's not an actual Blackhawk model. But yeah,
I've also
I get why the term stuff gets thrown around.
But I've also seen things that said that it was on a training flight. So I don't know why it would be designated as a priority air transport. And I also saw Megyn Kelly call out the media because the media was reporting there were no VIPs on board the helicopter. And she was like, who the hell says there were no VIPs on the helicopter after however many people just died on the helicopter?
right.
What makes them more important than anybody else who died in this accident?
Yeah.
And the only reason I would see something off of a training exercise being considered a priority flight is if somebody got hurt on a training exercise. It still wouldn't explain why you weren't flying with your
Transponder on.
Yeah, your transponder on and stuff like that. That would still not make any sense because you would absolutely want your transponder on if this is an emergency flight because you're wanting to make sure that everybody gets the fuck out of your way because you have somebody bleeding in the back and you have to get them to a hospital. That would have to be pilot error, ignorance, and even then, like I said, these guys go through so much training, man. They go through so much training to do this kind of stuff. This is the same stuff you do every single day. I mean, it becomes muscle memory, right? You get into one of these planes and you just go because you've done it 5 million fucking times, unless you're a diversity hire, and maybe you were only the only reason you were piloting that aircraft is because of an immutable characteristic that doesn't have to do with merit. And it's not like we haven't seen that in other examples. Now, have we, Shags? I mean, how'd that work out for some of them airlines, buddy?
Well, it's maybe not just the pilot. It's also the thing about air traffic control being DEI captured. I mean,
but
not saying that's what it is, but that's the questions that now come to mind because of the way we've done things for the past.
Right. And that's something that they have, that's something that the legacy institutions have done to the entire culture because they prioritize that stuff and we saw the consequences for it. So yes, we're going to automatically assume that. But yeah, you could be that, but that's, like I said, that just still wouldn't explain the transponder to me just from that aspect of it. Even if the aircraft tower control was all diversity hires, that would explain the transponder to me.
I'm
Trump
trying to
on
find
Truth
Trump's
Social.
statement.
I have it. It says the airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that it looks like it could have been prevented. Not good.
Right. And
that's from POTUS.
I don't know that Trump should be making a statement like that, but at the same time, that's kind of also the reason that I think that we might actually get answers about things like these, because Trump looks at it the same way that we do. I just watched a helicopter fly directly into a plane. What the hell happened?
Yeah.
Whereas for the past 6 months or 4 or 5 months, it's like there are drones everywhere. Nobody knows. Nobody's gonna pretend that they know.
Yep.
I did put Raw's alerts apparently there is video of the playback from the air traffic control radar, supposedly. So I put
Yeah.
that in the private chat.
And I'm just looking
It
at
is
this right
designated a PAT.
And the other thing about that is it's one of them situations where it's like you got Raw's alerts. I'm sure is 1.2 million followers, so they're probably pretty reliable.
I'm trying to find stuff from the larger accounts that probably have some.
Raw's is pretty good. It just be kind of.
So the JIA is the American Airlines.
Is the American Airlines flight, and the Hilo is the PAT 25.
Yeah.
And I haven't listened to the audio because I can't hear while we're all talking. So
yeah, it's really faint too. There's not a lot to it, and that's like this is the thing, right? It's like you got to take everything with a grain of salt, but at the exact same time, you have to also kind of assume that, hey, guess what? So counter to popular legacy media intelligence, there actually is a lot of relatively still common sense Americans left out there inside of these places that they are going to record this stuff. They are going to put playbacks out there, and they're going to leak them out to whoever they trust to put them out there that won't get their names out there in the shit and get fired. It's the same thing we see in the video game industry with Blizzard and Activision and Ubisoft and everything else. It's the reason why these leakers exist, is because there are still good people in these jobs trying to go, look, dude, this shit is fucked. Please save us all. Like, expose this. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, we can look at that if you Shags, that's up to you.
And that's why I provide caveats before I say anything about these breaking news things, because it's breaking news. We don't know everything. We know what we can find out there. It could all be complete BS. We've had many school shooting type situations where we find out that what we initially were told was completely wrong. And I mean, if we are going to be part of the media, as everybody on YouTube and Twitter keeps claiming, then we have to try to make sure that we're getting it right too. But we're just trying to bring the information that we're seeing from the sources that are probably more trustworthy than the freaking news. So,
well, and that's the nice part that you caveat with that too. And I think that's one of the things that makes us different. You know, if we are going to be this independent journalist culture now, which is where you find the people out there that you can trust, that have been reliable, that haven't screwed you over, that haven't lied. And if they have reported something that was wrong, they've come out and admit it later on. I think that's the biggest thing that makes the new independent media so much different, is if, let's just say we get something wrong, we'll gladly admit it. You know, I've made some predictions that were completely and totally wrong, and I admitted it. I made a whole other videos over it. And of course, it never makes a difference to the detractors, but it keeps our integrity in whole. And that means more to people than anybody realizes. You know, it's like Robert Meyer Burnett has said, authenticity is the currency of the realm now. And if we're not honest, we can report about this. And like you said, Brahma, we've been saying from the beginning, this is all early breaking stuff. We don't know exactly what's going on yet. We're just trying to report to you what we got you for right now. And if it ends up being wrong later, then we'll talk about it and we'll correct the record. But as of right now, this is what we've got. This is our speculation. This is where we're at. Unlike the mainstream news media, the legacy media, who would run with a headline and stick to it until the day they freaking died, because they never wanted to admit that they were wrong. And that's the reason why they've lost all their power, because guess what? All the rest of these independent journalists out there pointed out that they were wrong, and they decided to never admit they were wrong. And now, why? I wonder why nobody believes you anymore.
And the report about the 4 people being pulled out of the water, I haven't seen it again since then.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about community notes and Twitter, where all of this news is breaking now. It's because we can fact check each other. You can find resources, you know, and like even Facebook has now adopted that. Meta's adopted that.
But
now.
I am a community noter, and most of the time, you know, we don't have the information either, unless it's something that's actually out there. On something like this, we're not doing community notes for the most part, unless somebody's claiming something completely outlandish, like Trump ordered this to happen.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is, and that's just going to take time, right? The new media, the independent journalists are still building up, right? And there is going to be a point with independent journalism where it might just be one independent journalism company covers Washington, D.C. and what's going on in there. And maybe there's will be another one that covers L.A. and what's going on. Or maybe there'll be 10 that covers L.A. Maybe there'll be 10 that covers Washington, D.C. And maybe there'll only be one that covers South Texas. But I think at some point we're going to get to a point where we're going to have on the ground reporting that does not depend on the legacy media in any way, shape, or form. And we saw that plenty, right, during the 2020 riots and stuff like that, right? We saw more good, solid information. I mean, fiery, but mostly peaceful protests, you know, like that's like one of the best examples of that kind of nonsense. And so it's like, and more independent citizen journalists are going to be able to find, you know, doing the, you know, making money as a contractor, you know, going, hey, back like it was back in the Spider-Man days, right? Back when Peter Parker made his living off of selling pictures of himself to J. Jonah Jameson, right? Because he was first on scene, right? Because he was involved in stuff and everything, right? And I'm not saying we need a bunch of vigilantes out there being first on scene and also trying to be reporters, but there are plenty of people out there that have the resources or that can do a good enough job to make an independent living, jumping around from city to city, trying to be on the ground when crazy things happen. And you know what? Sometimes at the end of the day, it's just going to be a bunch of citizens out there with a smartphone going, holy shit, I just saw the explosion of this aircraft in this plane and like, holy cow, like, oh, what is going on? There's, you know, whatever it is, you know, but we're going to get more honest journalism from that than we ever have before. And I love that. It's one of the beauties of the internet. That's one of the beauties of the legacy media lying their asses off forever. They were their own worst enemies. And guess what? They are all our best friends because they continue to lie. They continue to gaslight. And now we're going to have going forward, I think we're honestly going to have a more honest media than we have ever seen before. And guess what? If it requires a tinfoil hat every once in a while, I'm totally okay with that.
Well, and going into community notes right now, the ones that are being rated the most are the report of at least 4 survivors have been rescued. After nearly 3 hours, 18 bodies have been recovered officially, but no survivors have been found at all, is what the community notes was saying. So, I mean, it's doing its job unless we find out that there were 4 survivors that were picked up, but that was blowing up. And then there's tons of reports that say, nope, nobody has been found. So
that's sad.
And the worst part about that is we won't have any actual confirmation until tomorrow morning at best, because of how long
they'll work through the night to try to pull whatever bodies out of the river. I mean, there's pictures of the plane broken up in the river, and there are pictures of the Black Hawk upside down at the back of, or at the bottom of the river. So it's not an extremely deep river.
No, it won't take much to dredge it and find everybody. Sadly, the only nice part of it, the only solace in that is, at least, like you said, the Potomac's not that deep, so we should be able to find everybody. God, that's a horrible.
Or fast flowing. So.
Yeah, that doesn't move very fast.
Very sad. I hope they find someone. You know, even one would be nice, but it doesn't. It's looking grim
After
if they haven't
3 or
found
4
someone.
hours,
especially in that cold ass water.
Yeah.
It's been freezing in the Northeast the past few days. And I know that's like still a bit south, but it's winter. Like that water is cold. Cold.
I've been to Washington D.C. in December, and yeah, it is cold as fuck there. So Lord be with all the friends and family of those people that were on those flights, because they're gonna need you. Holy cow.
But I also am seeing a whole bunch of ridiculous claims like this seems more like a terrorist act than a accident. It's like from our own Black Hawk on our own.
Well, wouldn't be the first time our own stuff had turned against us.
That wouldn't be a terrorist act.
You don't consider Fort Hood a terrorist act? You don't consider terrorist. You don't consider Fort Hood a terrorist act when the homeboy was screaming Allah Akbar as he was blowing up the medical facility.
Sure, I mean you could have that.
Okay, thanks. I mean, we don't know if these guys. We don't know what these guys were. We gotta wait for the audio recordings to find out what these guys were screaming before they blew up that plane. I'm just saying, like, it's not a thing to completely dismiss, but yeah, you're right. It is a lot of jumping to conclusions. And that's the other thing about this. Everybody needs to understand and realize this. And if anybody hasn't been paying attention, the legacy media, whether it be Hollywood reporting on the movies and the television shows, and talking about, well, this budget was only $150 million, and then we find out 2 years later when the budgets actually come out from the actual tax documents saying, well, that movie actually cost $350 million, or it be the mainstream media going, hey, all of this was okay, it's not going to hurt you, and guess what? It actually really hurts you. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, everybody should be very, very cautious and very suspect of every bit of information we're getting right now. And eventually, hopefully, the truth will come out. But as of right now, absolutely take everything. There's no reason to not take the first 24 hours of every situation with a giant grain of salt and assume everything might be bullshit, and also assume that everything is plausible. It could be Epstein. It could just be a random car accident.
Yeah, we just say what we see. That doesn't make it
right.
I mean,
also, I try
we
to
know
make
is
clear.
a helicopter and a plane hit each other.
Yeah, we know that for sure.
I try to make it clear with like stuff like this is that, or this show is that this show is not a news show.
We're not trying to be news.
Yeah, we're entertainment.
Opinion
We're
and entertainment.
Yeah, we're talking about stuff, and we might as well be having a beer in the garage or scotch.
That's exactly
or bourbon. So
well, two of us are.
Cheers, Brahma. I love you, buddy.
Mine's
listen,
empty.
some of us have meetings in the morning.
I've got a morning show too. I also have a baby that I'll probably have to deal with at 4 o'clock in the morning too. So I don't want to hear your complaints.
I've got meetings all day tomorrow. I've only had 2 bourbons though.
What's up, Charlie? Good to see you, man.
What's up, Charlie?
Well, that's all I have for stuff tonight. I mean,
I can give you one other funny one.
Let's do it.
Ooh, let's do something funny before we go. Yes, let's do something funny.
Semi-funny. So for the RFK hearings today.
Okay, political but funny. I'm down for that.
Elizabeth Warren runs out to the media afterwards and she's like, if he gets in, he could bankrupt the manufacturers of vaccines and then nobody could get vaccines. Like, why would him getting in bankrupt the vaccine makers, Elizabeth, unless there's something that nobody else does? I mean, he's not against all vaccines. He's against certain kinds of vaccines.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it because technically just that word, even though we're not talking about the one. I mean,
even I will admit they have lightened up on a lot of that stuff. They really have. To give YouTube credit, I will give credit where credit is due. They have lightened up on a lot of that stuff.
But what's so funny about this
is the CIA.
I mean, all he's really saying is, should we have 72 of them within like the first 3 weeks of birth? And why do they need a sexual transmitted disease vaccine, at 3 months old?
Well, also it was also not, he was very much in favor of not removing like responsibility for side effects and stuff. Like if these need to be approved and they need to be proven to work. And if something goes wrong, you're on the hook for them. Whereas right now, especially with the clot shot, like you're like, they're not, something happens. Oh, well, you decided.
Right, but there's a lot of things that have pointed to, they do absolutely work. Right. I mean, the fact that we have essentially eradicated smallpox, measles, mumps, rubella, chicken pox, even when we were kids. I mean, I can't say we all, but most people my age got chicken pox, and we had chicken pox parties as our own kind of, you just get exposed to it, so you're done with it.
Yep.
But what we're seeing now, especially with 11 to 30 million migrants that have come into the country over the past 20 years, is you're seeing a resurgence of those things because you've got a ton of people coming into the country that never got any of those, childhood shots.
We literally had black plague in Los Angeles.
Is making a comeback. We've got, black plague is still all over the place. I mean, prairie dogs carry it. I mean, there's lots of animals that still carry the plague all over the country. There was never a vaccine for it, though. I mean, what I'm saying is, so here in our city, at least, whooping cough is making a big comeback. Whooping cough was essentially eradicated in this country. And we've got it in almost all of the schools right now, and it's highly contagious, very fatal to, babies, infants, and toddlers. And it's like, so where did it suddenly just come back from? Is it because we've imported a whole bunch of people that, didn't have the same level of vaccination that everybody else did in this country?
That's
And
racist.
It's a question but it's the only thing you can really point to. It doesn't just come back from nowhere. It's got to come in from somewhere. Tuberculosis, all these things are making a comeback. And it's because your herd immunity is essentially not working the way it should, because you're importing people who didn't have that same herd immunity that everybody else did.
Wait a minute. Go ahead and finish your thought, Roma.
Well, I'm just saying, so the people who are susceptible to it still are going to get these things.
So it's almost like when the Europeans invaded South America and we brought some of our germs and it caused some problems. It's almost like, well, these people coming into our country who haven't been inoculated against these germs are causing problems all over again. It's weird. It's almost like the same things they complain about historically are happening now. And it's like, oh, yeah, weird concept. Yeah, we proved that happened in the past. And now you're literally bringing the exact same bubonic plague into our country all over again, because you're like, oh no, now colonialism is totally okay as long as it's from a bunch of illegal immigrants and not from a government agency or a king that's doing it.
Yeah, we probably should have gone with inoculation instead of the other word for YouTube segment.
No.
But I mean, we're not talking about the one, we're talking about the ones that we all got as kids. I just don't think that everything needs to be shot into your arm immediately after birth.
The other big thing with Elizabeth Warren too is, I mean, she gets a lot of contributions to her campaigns from Big Pharma, to the tune of almost $1 million, which is only second to Bernie Sanders.
And Bernie was trying to rip RFK apart too.
Yep.
You think that healthcare is a right? Is it a human right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And RFK basically said, well, it's different than the kind of human right that free speech is, because in healthcare, if you smoke cigarettes for 20 years and you get cancer, you're now taking from the pool from everybody else. Free speech is a free resource. Everybody can have free speech in one form or another, whether it be actual speaking, writing, or doing a podcast.
Yep.
Well, it's the difference between God-given rights. It's the difference between God-given rights and enslaving somebody else to serve you. Like, that's what that comes down to, because healthcare is universal healthcare. Universal human right to healthcare is enslaving someone else to serve you, whether or not you make bad choices or not. Like, it's completely and totally insane.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare is not a human right.
No, not at all.
I want people to have access to healthcare. That's for sure. But
I do.
Yeah.
But I want it to be. So there are the two different systems: socialist, universal healthcare, and then capitalist, the free market healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
There's problems and good things about both. If you get pancreatic cancer, or if you get some form of cancer, probably insurance in the capitalist world is going to be better than if you're in the socialist universal healthcare system, because they are just as likely to do as Canada does and say, hey, how about MAID? Or we don't have the time to treat you, or you're not a priority to treat.
Mm-hmm.
In a capitalist society, you're getting treated.
Right.
However, if you fall and break your arm or something minor,
you're not important.
Universal healthcare is probably pretty good, because you can probably go get treated immediately and it costs you nothing out of pocket.
Yeah.
So both of them have good and bad about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. For sure.
Universal healthcare is good.
Maybe.
In certain cases.
Yeah. I want it to work, and
if it takes you 8 months to get an appointment after you've been diagnosed with cancer, or you think you've got cancer, or think you've got something major going on, it's not that good.
So am I the only one?
Short-term sort of stuff, like going, you got to take your one day you get sick and you got to take the family to the doctors. That doesn't cost us anything over here.
Right, that's
we've
what I'm
got-
saying. Minor
Yeah.
things, it can be
Yeah.
very good.
Yep.
Major
but you can-
things, I don't think it's necessarily as good.
Well, we still have private health funds over here as well, so we have the option. It's not either or. That's the thing. So, like, my mum had to get a major operation done. She's in a healthcare thing. She got the thing on Thursday, and on Monday she was in getting surgery. Where the wife had to wait 2 months for the same procedure.
But that's partially privatized and
Well,
capitalistic.
I'm saying there's that option. I think that's the way it works. An either or system doesn't work. I think the option.
That's what I'm getting at. There is good and bad about both.
Well,
but I
and
wouldn't just flat out say universal health care is good, because if you don't have an option other than universal health care, then it's
I
not
don't-
necessarily good
I
if
don't
you
think
have a
the
major issue.
I don't
Because the
think
way I look
universal-
at it is you have police, not private militia. You don't have to pay to get a fire extinguisher, a fire put out. So why should your health be held at ransom?
Why should everybody else pay for the health of people who are completely obese or, like myself, smoke 2 packs a day?
It's a part of it. It's what the citizenry will comes to agree with. If a nation wants to look after the benefit of its people, it's all of its people.
So
You're saying it's looking
Case,
after
if that's the
Okay.
case, then you need to then the health insurance for people like that. Like, you need to have check-ins, like, for your health. Like, what, are you a smoker? All that stuff. If you're obese, you're going to be paying more.
I pay a higher price.
Right. Because you're
I
higher
smoke.
risk for treatment.
Meanwhile, obese people still get charged
Yeah,
non-smoker rates.
if you're morbidly obese and a smoker and everything over here, good luck getting a private health insurance.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I
you're
agree with
rewarding-
We just get charged higher here. At
So
least
you're
for
reward-
smoking.
So if you're rewarding in that socialist system, you're rewarding the fat and obese people because they can get fat and obese and smoke all they want, and the government will take care of it.
And
But you
don't
can't
have
get-
to worry about getting private,
Yeah,
because you can't.
and this is
Yeah,
my
but
problem,
I'm
because
saying,
I-
but at the time, if it's something serious, you have to wait. That's what I'm saying. That's the drawback.
Okay.
If you want to go on that system, you're not paying with your money. You're paying with your time.
Right. So this is my question. I don't know about any of y'all, but I remember a lot of commercials from the 90s where you were able to get Blue Cross and Blue Shield full insurance for your entire family for $90 a month. The private insurance, you could buy it off of a commercial on your television and get it better than, well, because back then it wasn't a mandatory thing required from your job. Unlike what happened after Obamacare. Does anybody else remember that? Does anybody else remember where you could pay $90 a month and get all of your cancer screenings covered? If you die, if you got heart disease, if you weighed 500 pounds and you were type 2 diabetic, and guess what? It cost you $90 a month to get all of your stuff covered. Does anybody else remember that? Because I remember that from the 90s. And like, we're living in this argument over now whether or not socialist health care for not having to worry about a broken arm is better than the regular health care where you didn't smoke 20 cigarettes a day. Where back in the 90s in the United States of America, you could get full and complete health care for your family or at least yourself for $90. Like, how far have we gone off the reservation when it comes to healthcare, where we're arguing this versus a $90 a month plan for your entire family in the 90s? Like, you can argue inflation and shit like that, but like, that's how far we've gone off the reservation. That's insane. That is stupid. They were even arguing about socialist health care. We're back in the 90s. You get a full and complete health care plan for your entire family for $90.
I will
far
push
have
back
things
on
gone?
that a little bit.
Okay, I'm listening. Because you're
In
the
the
insurance
90s,
guy, so I'm listening.
when they were doing ads like that, it was usually for accidental type policies. It wasn't full health care.
So like a broken arm or something like that you would.
Only if you're injured in an accidental situation, like a car wreck, that kind of thing. That's when it
Yeah.
would kick in. Or a plane crash, something like that. You survive something like that. It
Well, isn't that
wasn't
what the
for
car insurance
sickness. It
covers?
wasn't for illness. If you wanted a sickness and illness policy, which is a normal healthcare type policy, it was far more than that. But
How
insurance
much did it
companies
cost?
forever, I mean, you get mailers every day, probably junk mail that says, we can insure your home and your autos for this much. Then if you call them, it's nowhere close to that because they're going to try to hook you into talking to them with the lowest possible thing you can get. So secondary insurance, accidental insurance, that kind of thing, as far as health insurance went. Obamacare, its biggest problem was the
Administrative fees.
no, it was the what are the conditions that you already had the illness.
Yeah,
what do they call it?
Pre-existing.
Pre-existing conditions.
Pre-existing conditions.
So when you add in everybody's pre-existing conditions and just say, yeah, you can just go shop, even if you have a pre-existing condition. I mean, sure, they may charge you a bit more, but you can still get insurance. It's no longer insurance. Insurance is for sudden and accidental loss. So it's not healthcare. If you've already got the condition, you're now dealing with a human warranty. You're not dealing with insurance.
Yeah, it would be
Insurance
like
is for what might happen, not for what already happened.
it'd be like if
So-
if it would be like if like in my job, if every repair we made was because of some like, oh well, your roof is just really old. It's like, no, well, that's not accidental. Hail damage, which is
Hail damage
that's
is
what's
sudden
for
and
it.
accidental.
Right.
If
not
you
a-
can
not
get
an
into
old
a
roof.
car wreck or have a hailstorm and then call up your hazard insurance company and say, or not your company, you just call up any company and say, yeah, I got hail damage yesterday. I need to buy a homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah.
And they're forced to sell it to you. That's not insurance.
Right.
That's a warranty for something that already happened. And when you throw all those
Isn't
people
that,
back
isn't that
into the
insurance
pool,
fraud?
That's why they
yes,
can't do
except
it.
that
That's
that's
why
what
you
our
can-
healthcare system has done with Obamacare. And it's
Wow.
not fraud if you actually admit that you had hail damage. There, we just won't sell you a policy is the way you do it in property and casualty. You say, yeah, no, if you've got hail damage, we're not going to cover you. I mean,
Well,
we're not going
yeah.
to start the policy. But healthcare doesn't have that option. With pre-existing conditions, it's basically saying, no matter what anybody's got, they could be terminally ill, and the insurance company is going to pay out $3 million over the next year just to cover their illness. But
Even that person's only
they're going to
paid
get a
$90.
$1,900 a month premium because we have to cover somebody with pre-existing conditions. That is no longer insurance. That's
Yeah,
why
that's
it's
completely
become.
different over here. That's crazy.
That's why they've started calling it health care instead of health insurance, because it's not insurance anymore since Obamacare came into play.
Is that the reason why a lot of the insurers pulled out of California?
Completely separate situation, but yes. The reason the property and casualty companies pulled out of California was because 3 or 4 years ago, they're looking at some place like Palisades and saying, if that place goes up and we know it's a tinderbox, all of our actuarials are saying the rate needs to be this because we know we're going to have a loss there. It's not an if, but when. And it's $300 billion of properties. Our rate needs to be here. California as a state regulating the insurance said, nope, you can cap it all the way down here. That's the most you're allowed to charge on homeowners insurance or car insurance. So
they wanted
California
them to
told the
run as a
companies,
deficit?
you're not allowed to charge for what it would actually cost to pay those claims. You're just going to be allowed to charge this much. So the company said, insurance is for profit. Believe it or not, we're not charity businesses. The insurance company said, okay, if we can't charge for the risk that you're asking us to cover, then we are not going to cover any of these risks. We're getting out of the state. We're canceling all the policies, and we're saying we're not going to insure here, because the whole point of an insurance company is to not only be able to cover all the claims, which you have to have the pool of money to do that. It's all drawing from a pool. and almost all companies separate it by state. If you have a hurricane in Florida, you don't get to raise the rates in Colorado because you had a hurricane in Florida. Florida has to cover its own losses. So the rates are determined by each state. The insurance companies, like in Colorado right now, the company that I work for and the other companies that I know of, there's so much hail and so much wildfire exposure. The insurance companies are losing. The loss ratio is, I think, $1.12 to $1.15. So for every dollar we take in, we lose $1.15. That's not how you make a profit in any business. You cannot charge $1 to lose $1.15.
Yeah.
The loss ratio needs to be at like 98, 99%. So for every dollar you take in, you make 99 cents. Or no, you make 1 cent. The loss costs 99 cents. You make the 1 cent.
You make 1 cent.
That's where your profit is. If you're operating on the other side of that, you're not in the for-profit business. And if you can't raise the rates to that degree to get back to the profit, the company can't cover the losses and the company goes under or they pull out of the state. That's what happened in California. They were told you cannot raise the rates on
makes me think that they did it on purpose.
Houses.
I think they did it on purpose. Now the government's going to come in. They're going to require the land because no one's going to be able to buy that land back or rebuild on it. So they're going to come in and do that. Next thing you know, you're going to have a new freeway right through where the Palisades was, or something, or some housing development, or something or other.
Or it stays as native land because it's right on the coast, and the Coastal Commission doesn't want buildings on the coast. They want to keep it pristine, even if pristine is just a burnt up husk.
Now the Palisades are too expensive, man. That shit's never going to happen. Brom, I have a question for you too, though. How I don't know how long you worked in the insurance industry, though. But was there ever a time where there was a point where you could buy something that was strictly for like like cancer or a heart attack? Was there ever a point where you could buy a policy for like the things that you didn't expect to happen, right? Like cancer and emergency. Was there ever a time where you could buy a
catastrophic insurance?
Yeah, strictly for something like that. Was there a time where you could do stuff like that?
Yeah, there was always those policies. You could always buy a policy that was considered essentially a catastrophic policy, where if you got something major, it was typically you paid a very low premium and you had a very high deductible. But it would kick in because for your minor stuff, you'd pay out of pocket because the deductible was so high.
Right.
The problem is every policy now, since we've gone on to Obamacare,
right, of
the
course,
deductibles have all gone up to like, I can't get a deductible below $5,000, $7,500. That would have been considered semi-catastrophic back in the day. And I'm not an expert in health insurance because I sell property and casualty insurance and business insurance. But yes, you would have a high deductible, pay a low premium because you were basically saying, I will insure myself for all these minor things. I will pay for my own x-rays. I will pay for a broken arm. I'll pay for my physical every year, my checkups. But if something really bad happens, I need insurance because I can't afford $1 million, illness, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's always one of those things that
Obamacare, it became everybody has to pay a ton of money. You still have a high deductible. And you're still paying a large copay for almost everything. You're paying.
Is high deductibles a normal thing for your insurance? Like, for instance, like car insurance?
It's becoming a more normal thing because the rates on car insurance and home insurance are skyrocketing because insurance is at the bottom of everything. Like everything rolls downhill to it. Like when JD Vance yesterday was talking about the cost of bacon and saying, well, the fuel costs actually fuel the cost of bacon. Energy cost, you have to be able to feed the pigs. You have to buy the feed. That feed has to come to you on a truck that was probably driven with diesel. You have to keep the pigs warm. You have to then have a slaughterhouse where you have to have power. You have to then put that meat onto a truck and get it to a refrigerated facility that is also taking up a lot of energy. So energy cost drives all of it, right? So insurance, it's the cost of labor has gone up and the cost of materials has gone up because all the transport of every material you need to rebuild a house or to repair a car, that kind of thing, all of that gets baked into it, and everything rolls downhill to this is what the bottom line cost is to rebuild.
And now labor costs have gone through the roof because every single worker from every single industry just got deported. So,
well, and then
anyway,
on cars,
are we wrapping up? Shags, were you saying?
Yeah,
let Brahma finish up.
Last little point on auto insurance. I mean, since we're talking about insurance, and then we can never talk about it again. Auto insurance. A Honda Civic 15, 20 years ago cost $20,000 for right off the line. 20 years ago, it was about $9,000 for a basic Honda Civic. 10 years ago, it was about $20,000. Now it's a $35,000, $40,000 car. A freaking truck is now $80,000 to $90,000. Your insurance goes up because if you get in a total loss, we're paying $90,000 for a freaking truck now. Well, not the $30,000 or $40,000 that it cost 20 years ago.
And the reason
even
why
the repairs,
even the reason why that car costs so much now is because of government overregulation on safety standards and the price of inflation. Sorry, I just wanted to point those two things out before you went on.
Right. I mean, that all goes into it. But what's causing your insurance to go up is there's more uninsured drivers because there's the cost of insurance goes up. So it's a cycle. People drop their insurance when insurance costs too much. But at the same time, the insurance costs too much because the cost of everything has gone up so much. And it's not just inflation. It's let's put all these safety regulations in. Let's add computers to every freaking car. Let's make everything, cost this much to repair. Like a Tesla, I had somebody last year wait, I think 8 months to get their car repaired because Tesla is putting all their materials into pumping their cars off the line because there's so many orders for Teslas that they don't have any spare parts to send out to shops to be able to repair the Teslas that are out on the roads. I don't know if that's still true. That was the case last year. But with the increasing cost of what it costs to buy a vehicle, the insurance has to go up because, I mean, if you were paying $20,000 for it 10, 20 years ago, and now you're paying $60,000 to $80,000 for it, that's what the loss is. So there's your lesson in insurance for the year. Or for
everyone's an expert now. Don't ever ask a question about insurance again because you should know it all.
I'm somewhat of an insurance expert myself.
Yeah.
All I know is I ask Brahma for insurance questions. That's all I know. I'm smart enough to know I'm not smart enough to know about all that kind of stuff. So I ask Brahma for questions like that.
I mean, every freaking day, all I do is have meetings with my insureds now because the prices have gone up so much. I mean, it's like up 60% in Colorado. And it's like, I have to explain it to every single customer. This is why it's up. And then
we'll ask you again next week.
They go shop for insurance and then they find out, oh, well, you're pretty much right in line with where everybody else is. It's like, yeah, because it's not a joke. Insurance is up.
Do you get to explain to them at any point why it's happening? Or is it just like, I'm sorry, it's up?
If they give me an inkling that they understand what has gone on in the economy for the last 4 years, yeah, I'll have that talk with them. But they have to bring it up.
You can always tell because he cracks his knuckles just before and he's like,
Yeah. Yes, let's talk about Joe Biden's inflationary economy.
Excellent.
But I mean, yeah, I think I've sold maybe 10 policies this year, which normally
bragger.
I mean, in a month I would normally sell 40 to 45 policies. I'm at about 10. All we're doing is playing defense because the cost of insurance has gone up so much. Everybody's just canceling policies and not getting new policies, just canceling policies, which then puts everybody else at risk of having a whole bunch of people without insurance getting ready to hit them. But people just can't afford it. I mean, that's where the economy is in America. And insurance is just an indicator of how poor the economy is. I mean, eggs insurance, all those things. But eggs is artificial when you just decide to kill 100 million chickens and then say, hey, eggs are up.
Hey, you know what? The 3 chickens in my backyard are doing just fine. And my neighbor's 6 chickens that come hang out in my yard and for some reason lay eggs in my coop too are doing just great. So
the cost of eggs in Canada right now is like $2.45 a dozen because they didn't execute half of their freaking egg or chickens. I mean,
it's like I saw the stats this morning on the little Robinhood little monthly thing, the daily thing I get, and it was like, they were like the price of eggs in the last 6 months have increased like 68%, and I'm like, haven't noticed. Oh, that's right, because the price of feed hasn't gone up, and I still got chickens. So yeah. Shags,
let's wrap it.
Yeah, man, I'm fading.
We had to get to 3 hours.
Yeah, we had to get 3 hours.
I'm fading fast, and talking about insurance was not helping at all.
No,
I understand that.
So
I'm
weird.
sorry.
This is good, but this is
really
good
hard right
information
now,
for people to know that
Yeah.
you know when he watches the replay that needs to know about insurance, they'll know to call Brahmable.
Call 1-800-Brahmable.
All right, well, Jesse, why don't you start us off? Tell us what you got coming up, and we'll just kind of work around.
Of course, he asked me as soon as I put a fucking giant pallet of nuts in my mouth. There's a whole other argument on that one. But needless to say, yes, tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., the morning prep is already ready to go. You guys can jump over there, YouTube, Rumble, go smash that notification bell.
Okay, time's up. All right, Brahma, what do you got coming up?
And on Saturday, Thursday night, we've got our dear sweet Sunker Maiden. We're reviewing our Cyberpunk Edge Runners. We're reviewing Cyberpunk Edge Runners tomorrow night. That should be a good time. I actually really love that show. So as Shags was talking about earlier, actually reviewing
Best
things
comedy of the year. Makes me laugh every scene, especially the ending.
All right, so Grant, I expect Grant to be there for every single episode then. So that'll be a great time. I love that show. So I think we're gonna have a really good time with that one. And then of course we'll be reviewing Daredevil Born Again after that. Friday, we've got obviously the morning prep once again, except $5 Fridays, where you guys can decide how long my ass sticks in this chair. Unlike Shags, who just begs my ass to stick in this chair, which is a whole other conversation for a whole nother day. But yeah, you can join me on that one. 8:30 Central Standard Time PM on Fridays, we do a comic shop talk where we go over and review classic comic books, man. We've been having a really great time going through the Spider-Man stuff. That'll be a fun time. And Saturday, we've got my 1-year anniversary of my new YouTube channel. So whether you're there before the ban or after the ban, come hang out with us on Saturday. I'll probably make some of these weird freakos here join me on that one as well. Whether it be Shags or Grant or anybody else, but there'll be fun people showing up. And it's a member stream. So if you're a member of my channel, you'll be able to come hang out with that. Sunday, 2 p.m. Bible study, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. I apologize. 7 p.m. we do When Doctor Who Was Good. With Sunker and Mr. Grant Gregory, and then Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. for the morning prep. And we're getting back in it now that the baby, my beautiful baby bouncing baby girl, Mary Ruth, is here. And so I am back at it right now. We are grinding, we are growing, and I would certainly appreciate all of you guys' help because I have a baby. I have a brand new baby, and so please become a member, help support my channel, do all that kind of fun stuff. And thank you.
Better not use it to clean snow off the car. I tell you what.
I know, dude. If I had snow in South Texas, I would totally recreate that video because I'm like, fuck you guys. I know how stupid you guys are being. So I love you guys. I'm so glad the Midweek Hump is back. Even with as limited as a population that we have now, we still have a good time and we still laugh our asses off. And still, for some reason, we can't beat the not 1 o'clock in the morning kind of situation, 2 o'clock in the morning, the 3 hour mark. We still can't help with that one. So, Mr. Grant Gregory, what do you got going on?
I'm going to be doing streams.
All right.
Perfect.
Drama.
Friday night, Ascent and Art. Saturday, Bourbon and Boarding on my channel. Sunday, The Bullpen.
Sick. And for myself, I don't have a whole lot. I'm working a lot behind the scenes job wise. And then, like I said, I'm working on developing a game of my own and going through the process of learning code. I want to be a coder, which a lot of people
learn the code.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's a fun process. It's not I understand it's not for everyone, but I enjoy the logic behind it, logic puzzles behind it, and like I said, it's just something new to learn. And yeah, so I've been doing a lot. I've been focusing a lot just on this show. I want to bring a little bit more spice, not spice, but a little bit more pep to the show. I'm working on getting some. I don't even know how to describe behind the
So we'll have
scenes
an
sort of
insurance segment every week.
no.
Oh, yes.
Then why is Brahma even here?
Because he's a
The
neo-Nazi.
first rant
that
I've ever
called
gone
hair.
on YouTube.
The other thing, chat, that you can do to support me is if you happen to be on TikTok, you obviously can't get it anymore off the App Store, but if you have it still on your phone and you have the account, find me at TheShagsworth on there and like the videos I've been doing regarding film, talking about hidden gems. I plan on cutting up a lot of my stuff and adding it there along with on YouTube as well, on YouTube Shorts. But yeah, if you want to support me that way and also through gaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/TheShagsworth or at Shagsworth Gaming on YouTube, my VODs will be going up on there as well. And join the Discord. The Discord's link is in the description. Please join. Please be a part of the community. We'll be here next Wednesday, same time, 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time. That's all for us. Thank you so much for joining. You guys have been great. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys next week.
Say bye.
Bye-bye.
I like to put stuff online.